official session, the last thing you want to do is have you go on track and crash into another car. Once you're in your test session, click on the options button. You will then see input calibration. This is where your calibration takes place. Start by clicking on the steering button. You will then be prompted to turn your wheel fully one direction and then another. Make sure you place your wheel back into its centering position before hitting done. Now, you will be asked to turn your wheel 90 degrees to the left. Make sure it's at 90 and hold it there while hitting done. For pedals, click on the pedals button. Here you'll be asked to press the throttle all the way down and then release it. You'll do the same for the brake and clutch pedal if you have one. For the gearbox, you'll first be asked to set buttons for sequential shifting. Once complete, a prompt will ask if you have a H pattern shifter. If not, hit no. If yes, click it and you'll begin to map the gears individually. Once you've completed these steps, you are calibrated and ready to go racing.
The hunt's still on for the Neo Endurance Series here for the 24 Hours at Le Mans for their season finale. Double the points, double the fun as they continue to try and hunt down a good finish to end off the season. I'm Justin Prince, but I'm not going to be sticking around. Of course, it's time to introduce our next broadcast crew for hour number 8 through 12. It's going to be Jake Blackhall and Lorenzo Bonder who's going to be in the broadcast booth to see how strategies work out and start to come into the clearer picture for this next hour of coverage. Hugo Lee's once again helping with the directing and camera work for tonight's broadcast. And once again, Ed Moore to design, the official overlay designer. And you can keep up with the live tracking, timing, and scoring at live.neo/endurance.com. Of course, still a lot that can happen. Maximilian Beneke is right now up at the front in the number 7 for the prototypes. On a slightly different strategy, he might be coming into the pits in the next couple moments. We'll have to see. Right now, Hoyteveld Racing is up at the front for the GT3s. But let's run through the field for the prototypes first. Your racing team is in front of the Movaro Racing entries right now. 28 seconds and 1 minute and 35 seconds is the intervals between the two. Radicals Online, they're up in the top 5 right now. Over Team Camaro Racing, who is in the 5th spot, way far back, 4 minutes and 60 seconds. That cannot be right whatsoever. Virtual Motorsports is in 6th spot. Ted Martin Esports rounds out in the cars on the lead lap. SimOK Esports is now a lap down for the prototypes. Now let's run down that GT3 field one last time. Much about Corn Motorsports, they might be coming in the next few minutes as well, as they usually come in 2 to 3 laps later than the rest of the field. That includes Pure Racing Team GTE, who took the lead after saving some fuel and then zooming on by the Thrustmaster Movano Racing entry of the number 69. VRS and their team, along with Cordana Simsport, are currently in the 4th spot in the 81 machine. They need to stay where they're at, try and lock themselves up. Their teammates in the 88 machine are behind them by about 40 seconds. Torque Freak Racing and Jim Racing Team are also in the top 8, along with SRN Motorsports, with the pit stop starting to unfold during the switch over. But with that, let's hand off the torch to Jake Blackhall and Lorenzo Bonder for hours number 8 through 12. Jake?
Thank you, Justin. And yeah, it's 8 to 12. We're going to have a blast here tonight. We're going to continue on from Justin, but Lorenzo, this is going to be a crazy strategy sort of unfolding now. We're sort of going to run us through all the way to halfway in this race. This is where we're going to see how these strategies are going to play out, who's going to be in the good position to try and take this one away, especially from the guys out in front, Pure Racing Team.
Precisely, and welcome everybody. This is going to be quite the 4 hours that is going to decide the second half of the race. Is going to be quite important. The strategies is going to be very interesting thus far. Maximilian Beneke is leading the charge with the Pure Racing LMP team, doing really nice stints. And let's see, it's going to be a very good one to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one to watch. Pure Racing Team LMP going through the final chicane now, back onto the front straight. The last to pit that I've noticed are the top 5 at the moment. Everyone else behind them have pit. Thrustmaster Movano racing in 2nd and 3rd. Both of them have come down pit lane, but I think Thrustmaster Movano, nope, the second car is still in P number 3. Radicals Online just coming through in the Mulsanne straight at the moment. And that car is already done his pit stop down to P number 4 with Team Chimera in 5th, which is having a good strong run. They're going to be in a good little battle, hopefully towards the end. But right now, the 3 and the 13, the 2 HPDs, TO Martin Esports with Virtual Motorsports 6th and 7th. They're not separated by much at the moment, Lorenzo, after their pit stop cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. Their pit stops have been really good, and their pace has been really good too. And as I said, this is double points, so basically the championship is still wide open. The gap between in the standings is really close from one another. So the gap is also not far. They were battling not a lot ago. Actually, Teal Martin had took Virtual Sports 6th place. Now they are in 6th, but still a long race to go here in this 24-hour of Le Mans. Jake.
Yeah, still a long way to go right now as these two work their way back onto the Mulsanne after the second of those back chicanes. You're going to see what they can do, but I think right now TO Martin Esports just slowly pulling away after the pit stop cycle in front of Virtual Motorsports. It's Heisenfeld, the GTE leader. Heisenfeld Core Motorsports right now coming across the front straight. Actually got one of the ERT HPD in front of them at the moment, but they've actually got a quite nice gap. I'd say about 6.7 seconds back to Pure Racing Team GTE Blue. So that gap at the moment, we'll have to watch on how that fluctuates, because from my calculations, Heisenfeld have come in and Pure Racing Team haven't as of yet. Trying to see when their last pit stop was, but that's an interesting one if already Heisenfeld have come in and Pure Racing Team is still a little bit behind them at the moment.
Yeah, a little bit behind, but not far behind. And here on the first part of the track, actually, I think Huskinville, the 55, had a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, a little bit of a
had a little mistake.
Lorenzo.
Yeah, had a little bit of a husk. Lost like 5 seconds. Now the gap is around 0.9 seconds, not 0.95 between each team. And now there's the whole Mulsanne, so the draft effect is going to be quite huge over here in this part.
A massive draft effect now that's going to help Pure Racing Team GTE Blue, and that's a big mistake. It's commentators straight away start talking about Heisenfeld Core Motorsports and they have a half spin. But right now, going to bring this battle for the race lead for this GTE class quite close, and I think that definitely it's going to open them up. I should say Grand Touring class. I've got to get used to it. We'll get back into it as we look down at these two now, down through the Mulsanne straight at the moment. Super tight between both of them coming down into the second chicane.
Yeah, also one thing to mention, they cannot lose. They cannot afford to lose a lot of time over here, because Thrustmaster Movano is coming back like 4 seconds behind the Pure Racing Team GTE. So any mistake on this part of Mulsanne and probably going to Indianapolis could be fatal for both teams.
Yeah, it could be a massive mistake for both of them, so we'll see what happens right now between these two. But I think Heisenfeld Core Motorsports of Alexander Bob, he will be able to get back into a rhythm. He won't make a mistake, I don't think, for the rest of this run. But Pure Racing Team GTE Blue, currently Patrick Pitchler in that car at the moment. We're going to see if he can close up down under brakes. They're going to have one of those Thrustmaster Movano, it looks like, LMP cars, and a little brake lock in the last part of the braking zone there for Pure Racing Team. Patrick Pitchler ran a little bit wide. He's going to lose a couple of seconds there of gap that he had to Heisenfeld Core Motorsports in front of him. And that's going to really start to open the door for Thrustmaster Movano racing behind them, because they are now just going to get a little bit of a sniff. Luke Van Schaik in that car at the moment, he will just notice that a little bit of mistakes coming from the top two, that he can try and maybe close that gap now, Lorenzo, just to be in a little bit more of a contention right now. He still is roughly 5.5 seconds away from the lead.
Yeah, 5.5 seconds away from the lead, but it's closing ever so slightly, so it's shuffling between. So it's pretty much interesting, this battle for the lead, and let's see how it still goes.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the one to watch at the moment. And out in front still, Pure Racing Team LMP. He's in the pit lane. That's Maximilian Beneke has come down. He will lose the lead to Thrustmaster Movano Racing. No driver swap at the moment. It's behind them. One of the other cars, the LMP cars, comes out. That is actually Ava Sim Sport, they've left, as well as Pure Racing Team LMP. They have left and they are out onto the racetrack. They're going to slot in to P number 2. And that's going to be behind Thrustmaster Movano Racing. So I have to see how that strategy plays out. Thrustmaster Movano pitted 4 laps ago, so they're sort of running a very alternate strategy with 4 laps. And I think everyone is at the moment, Lorenzo, and it just goes to show that nothing is sort of set in stone, especially during these stages of the race.
Yeah, we're approaching now halfway through the race, and as we said, that's where the strategies start to form. Not entirely. It's going to be more down later, to the later half of the race. I would estimate around the 8 to 6 hours, the 6 final hours. That's where everything just gets like frenetic around the race. But a good strategy from Tristan Movano. It's a quite interesting one. I don't know if it will pay off. Right now, it's paying off for them. That's good. Let's see in the later stages of the race if it will pay off in the end.
The later stages of the race will definitely show whether this one is going to come to fruition for Thrustmaster Movano Racing. Currently trying to do everything they can to close that gap to Pure Racing Team out in front, the 33 and the 34. 33 currently P number 2 in the championship, needs to do everything he can to try and close that gap to Pure Racing Team, but when Pure Racing Team are on fire with Maximilian Beneke, it's going to be hard for them to try and close down that championship lead, especially with double points on offer. They can try everything they can, but Maximilian Beneke, he is super quick in these cars, and it won't surprise me, Lorenzo, if they do come away with this championship after today. But still a long way to go. Anything can happen, but they're in a good position at the moment.
Yeah, they're in a really good position. They're sitting at the top of the table, Pure Racing Team LMP, with 150 points. Tristan Movano, the 33 actually is next to 107 points. They have 107. The gap is quite large. To be able to close up that gap, or maybe even surpass it, it's like the most of strategies would have to happen, but the way Maximilian has been handling the LMP car has been great, even though he's been on a long stint, and that's been quite a characteristic, not only from him, but his teammate. It's still no showing slow down or anything at all.
Yeah, they know how to get the job done, and that's why they've won pretty much every race this season, which they have heading into Le Mans. So they've pretty much had a stranglehold on the prototype class coming into this final round of the championship here for the Neo Endurance Series as they go around that Ava Sim Sport number 10 prototype coming into the Porsche curves, and we'll see how he goes through. He gets him clear and gets that job done. Now a little bit of clear air for him to stretch his legs after the pit stop and see what he can do, but right now he's 42 seconds behind the Thrustmaster Movano racing car going through turn number 1 at the moment. And having a look through the field, everyone is still very spread out, and this is what you obviously expected in this endurance race, but it's just the strategies have really sort of got the gap spread out at the moment. The closest gap, T.O. Martin Esports and Virtual Motorsports, they're roughly 2 seconds separating that gap. Everyone else pretty much spread out in that field of prototypes. And then back down into this Grand Touring class, Lorenzo. The gap out in front just starting to stretch out once again for Heisenfeld Core Motorsports. Having a look, Pure Racing Team as well. Movano's closing on them, I think, Lorenzo, as well. They're 2.5 seconds behind Pure Racing Team GTE, so that gap's actually coming down just a little bit. Last time round, Luc Van Dijk did a 3 minutes 49.5 compared to a 3 minutes 51.0 for Pure Racing Team GTE Blue. So that's coming down just a little bit. Lap traffic's going to definitely hurt Thrustmaster Movano. That was actually, as I say that, Luc Van Dijk comes down onto pit lane, P number 3 in this Grand Touring class. Lorenzo runs a little bit wide coming into pit entry, but gets it slowed down and does a good job at that.
Yeah, it does a really good job, really good stint from Thrustmaster Movano Racing. Eventually, Sim. Oh, no, I was going to say Sim VRS, Sim the Coanda team was going to grab that position, but he's not. The 81 goes into the pit, well as Marti Pietla go into the pits as well.
Yeah, so that is P number 4 and 5 coming into pit lane from the Grand Touring class, and obviously iRacing Commander Sim Sports 81 in front of this championship. No bigger gap as Pure Racing Team, but 141 points behind them. 90 points is GTE. As we look at a battle between the 61 and the 96, this is Talk Freak Racing and Gym Racing Team. They are currently just outside that top 5 and 6th and 7th at the moment, 2-4 GTEs, and a good little battle going to spice up here. Lorenzo in the early hours of, I wouldn't say early hours, but definitely early hours for these guys out there on the track.
Yeah, early hours for these guys in the track, and I was actually paying a little bit of attention on their battle. It was more like of a chase. Ooh, wild exit from Torque Freak coming out at the end of the Mulsanne, but it was actually a good look on the JIM Racing Team, the 96, having a better clean drive. Man, now managing that draft effect. Let's see if he's going to make the move. I think he does.
Pulls out, goes to the inside. I think he's going to get this one done. Coming into Indianapolis, should be good, able to get the job done. Gets it clean, and that is Mikko Mikilia through the inside. I'll butcher names as well. That is Justin as before, so we're just going to continue the trend. We're going to continue the trend here at RaceBot TV and iRacing Live, as that is a position gain there for Gym Racing Team, and trying to both have not stopped yet, so maybe they will come down into pit lane this time as well. We might actually stick with these two and see what they do, because that'll sort of be the same strategies. Obviously, Vieresco and SimSport, Thrustmas and Mavana Racing, so a lot of guys on sort of a single strategy at the moment in the Grand Touring class. If these two come down as well, Lorenzo, which is just sort of going to open up our options and eyes to knowing who is on that alternate strategy and who's actually going to put themselves in a better position.
Yeah, right now their strategy has been the same, basically running the same boost, same engine map. Of course, there are small technical differences between the Ford GT, GTE, and the Ferrari 488 GTE, but it's not a highly technical advantage. The guy in the 96 makes a little bit of a fake going to the pit stop, but he doesn't. But his small technicalities aside, they're just driving just fine, doing the same tactic. I think if they go for a little bit of a boost down in the end, it would be really interesting, but I think it's a quite risky strategy up to this point.
Yeah, it might be a risky strategy to see if they can try and change it, but both of them stay out this time, and I think we'll see that Gym Racing Team GTE will start to pull away. That's Mikko Mikilia right now in the 96 car, going to pull away, as obviously Commander Sim Sport and Thrustmas Mavano both completed their pit stops, and they have actually fallen back behind the 88 VRS Commander Sim Sport, which has now dropped himself up into P number 3 at the moment. Got a good little handy gap, 8.9 seconds, but obviously VRS Commander Sim Sport, the number 88 car right now, Jorn Jens, he still has to come down pit road, so that will be interesting to see where he pops out. He should drop back into that little bubble that he had before. And it's interesting to know, Lorenzo, that both of these Commander Sim Sport cars definitely way off the pace that I thought they would have been coming into this part of the race. I thought they would have been up there definitely in the podium positions, but right now 4th and 5th. I don't think they'd be a little bit unhappy with that, but definitely got to wait for the rest of the race and see how their strategy plays out.
Yeah, they're going to be both unhappy, especially the number 81. The 81 is actually the leader of the GT class into this Neo Endurance Series Championship, so right now they would be satisfied with a much better position. Right now the 81 is being caught up by traffic. Yeah, a little bit of a hectic moment on the exit of the Porsche curves, but they're doing just fine. They're putting the cars on the race, basically keeping in touch with other cars. And Jorn still have a long, lengthy stint to do, because he's just begun his and he's midway through his right now.
Yeah, he's midway through his stint at the moment. As Virtual Motorsport, that is Marcel Bosman. He comes down onto pit road, number 13, HPD prototype on the pit lane. It'll be interesting to see next season with NES, with all these new LMP1 cars, what the Neo Endurance Series does in that front, because I think that'll make for just this interesting series, and just how competitive this series is to grow to another stretch as Virtual Motorsports come down onto pit lane. They were just behind, obviously they had that battle with T.O. Martin Esports a handful of laps ago when we just started to come to live from us. But right now, Pure Racing Team actually just got caught up there a little bit. As we look back to this battle, the 61 and the 96, they're still going at it in this Grand Touring class. The 61 at the moment, all over the back of the 96. I don't think he's done with this one at the moment. David Baraclow, or Baraclow, I'll get him right one stage in this race. We'll get it all right, Lorenzo. He's actually right now behind, back underneath that rear wing of that Jim Racing Team Ford.
Yeah, he's barely getting good at, but still making good use of the air that he has in the long straights here. He's gonna have the draft effect over here. The long straight is going to help him out a little bit heading to Porsche curves, but it's going to throw his car off, so he needs to be very careful approaching these both curves and make sure his car doesn't offset and goes into the barrier.
Yeah, it's hard throwing someone through Porsche curves. That aero wash, putting all that dirty air onto the front nose of that Ford GTE, definitely going to upset him. Oh, there's a car off the track.
Yeah, that's the Evolution Racing Team 26. That's a 26.
Yeah, that's a 26 Evolution Racing Team. They have had a big incident through the Porsche curves. Going to throw a replay up of that one. Johnny Gundy at the wheel of that and just lost the rear end and snapped hard back into the fence. A big incident, lost the rear wing. That one looks like that is day done for them, because that's going to be a lot of damage to get repaired to try and get a new rear wing onto that car, Lorenzo. So running inside the top 10, don't think they will be after this one.
Yeah, it's such a shame, and that's the danger of the Porsche cars, regardless of where you at or what the car you're using. The Porsche cars usually offsets the car if you go a little bit more on the throttle than you should. That's what happens with the Evolution Sim Racing, the racing team. Johnny Gundy tried to save the car, just couldn't manage to hit the barrier, and this is going to be quite a lengthy repair.
Yeah, this is going to be a big repair for that number 26 Evolution Racing Team prototype, who will now be sat on pit lane for quite a little bit, trying to get their car repaired, as the 61 is actually on pit lane as we're looking at another battle. This is the 67 right now out on the racetrack. I saw that they just completed their pit stop, so the 67 German Sim Racing .de, Nicholas Behrens right now out there in front of the Walkiva Kinetic Racing. We'll get them right. There's Sven Kameritz in that car. He's going to try and see what he can do after the pit stop cycle, but I think definitely that German Sim DE car is going to actually pull away. Actually, no, I've got the wrong one. No, I've got the right one. So we'll see what he can do now on the fresh tyre. See whether he can pull away Lorenzo, because he's got a good gap. It's actually over Logical. So obviously other cars have come in. I'm stuffed that one up. My bad. My timing hasn't updated, and there's another cars in there. So pit stop cycle is definitely changing everything around, and that's how close they are, Lorenzo, that he's actually dropped 2 positions to just in front of that Logical Vortex Sim Racing car.
Yeah, but the tires, the newer tires, are going to make quite due to him if he has put, I believe he has put new tires, so eventually those tires will start to break away, but in the first few laps it's going to be quite a little bit of some wobbly, good, interesting moments, because you need to build up the heat, you need to get used with the new rubber, so there's an LMP going through, but let's see, it's going to be quite of an interesting battle going on. Actually, not so much.
As Emmanuel Petrie pulls down into pit lane with that front end damage that he got during that stint, he's going to come down onto pit lane and get his service for that Logical Vortex Sim Racing Ferrari. And actually that HPD was the race leader. That was the Thrustmaster Movano 33 car that was working their way through that little battle at the time. And now he's got a little bit more clean track to try and work with to pull away. 39.6 seconds it was at the line. I think it's going to open up to 39.8 once the Pure Racing Team LMP gets there, but that's a good sizable lead at the moment. Obviously running different strategies. The Pure Racing Team pitted 4 laps ago, Thrustmaster Movano 8 laps, so definitely on alternate stints. You're going to see what they can do, but the Pure Racing Team has a little bit of a Ferrari in front. Once he clears them, he should be fine.
Yeah, it will be just fine, and it's going to be really interesting to see now Stefan Muselar. I hope I didn't butcher the name just like we are doing the whole broadcast. Just kidding. We're going to try to avoid butchering names. But it's going to be quite interesting how his pace is going to settle into this race. He's one of the drivers who hasn't set a lap into this race thus far. But keeping in contact with the Pure Racing Team, and it's actually closing the gap right now. The gap is around 1.2 seconds and decreasing by the moment.
Yeah, he's closing that gap down to that Pure Racing Team GTE. Patrick Pitchler obviously had that mistake coming after Mulsanne straight. Now, obviously, gonna have Stefan Mulsanne. I'll get there at the end. The Thrustmaster Movado Racing Team GTE right now behind them, and that gap has definitely come down. Obviously, VRS Commander SimSport isn't too far away either. They're about 15 seconds behind Marty Patilia. He may be able to close that gap a little bit as well, but Thrustmaster Movado definitely got their sights to try and get P2 away from that Pure Racing Team blue car. And Patrick Pitchler, he's already made one mistake. He's got to try and not make any more, because it could be day done, especially with Thrustmaster Movado that close. And as I say that, HPD is actually going to get amongst this battle as well. That is Cedric Boland for Simotech, Simotech. We'll get there. Esports, he is actually going to now be right now working his way through this one, so that's going to put a little bit of a spanner in the works, and depending on where he catches the Pure Racing Team GT Blue, he might have a little bit of an effect. Right now he's going to get him on this short straight before the Porsche curves, and that's going to give Patrick Pitcher a little bit of an easy run now through these Porsche curves, not having to worry about a car trying to make a move down there. But Lorenzo, Thrustmaster Movado Racing, they are there. They are starting to close the gap. It's now 1.4 seconds that the gap is just coming down to, so another 10. It's slowly closing in at every moment right now.
At every moment it needs to be worked with proper patience. You need to be patient enough and be technical enough to close that gap. Actually, right now the gap has widened a little bit. Now it was around 1.1. Now it actually increased the point to 0.3 of a second, but still very close battle over here. Now going to the front straight here at Le Mans.
And as I say, the D88 has come onto pit road. That is the VRS Commander Sim Sports car. 88, he's come onto pit road. As we look back, Team Heisenfeld, there's a battle, the 78 and the 61, both for GT cars for the Grand Touring class. This is Team Heisenfeld and Talk Freak Racing, who got the move done. They have just come out of the pits, and that is Ronnie Nunez that has come out and into that car. Gets that job done through the first chicane on the back straight, and Team Heisenfeld going to have to relinquish that spot. Obviously not racing for position, but on alternate strategies at the moment. Team Heisenfeld pretty much nearing the end of their stint, 10 laps into their stint at the moment. So very long stints out here. Or not, when you think of it, it's not a lot of laps in a stint out here, Lorenzo. That's just obviously the nature of the track, but it's physically demanding around here, especially with those HPDs. Another HPD is Talk Freak Racing, as Heisenfeld closing that gap down the back, as there goes one of the HPD cars that I think was the T.O. Martin Esports HPD, getting that position done and moving away. But Heisenfeld, you can see that just closing in the toe, trying to see if he can maybe make that pass back. There'd be no need for him to do so. Obviously, Talk Freak Racing just did their pit stop. Fresh driver Ronnie Nunez, he will pretty much pull away as soon as he can, but right now that toe is keeping this 78 there, and Team Heisenfeld gonna have a look, pokes the nose out a little bit coming into Indianapolis, but no, rolls out of it, gonna follow him through this time round. But he's definitely there, Lorenzo. He could maybe have a dig here, and this will sort of hurt Talk Freak Racing. They don't want to get into a battle that they don't need to be a part of at the moment.
And especially with this much left in the race, it would just damage them quite so much. And especially if they keep going on a battle like this, there is the MSP Phoenix Racing, not far behind the Team Heisenfeld team. So if they make any mistakes, MSP could capitalize on the chance.
Yeah, and that's another car that you don't want to get amongst it, because once you have 3 car battles, that's just starting to hurt everyone's race pace. And that's the thing, especially in this phase of the run, You want to be by yourself. You want to just run your laps, get into a rhythm, build on where you are in terms of strategy. And right now, through the Porsche curves, that little bit of dirty air definitely hurt Team Heisenfeld. Not able to get as close as they would have liked to the back of the 61 of Talk Freak Racing, using all of that entry road and a little bit more. It goes to 61 through the final chicane and back onto the front straight. Once again, for another time, that's going to complete lap 130 in the books for Talk Freak Racing. And as I say that, did he maybe get a slowdown? He did. Yeah, there it is. And that's what the mistake we're talking about, Lorenzo, that you said. They make a little mistake. Now MSP Phoenix Racing is back into this battle because he's now getting a little bit of a tow help from the 61.
Yeah, and now MSP's coming really strong. The gap has basically closed.
Pretty much right there now. The gap down to 0.8 of a second. So this is going to be on. This is going to be a good 3-car scrap at the moment. Obviously, Team Heisenfeld and MSP Phoenix both on alternate strategies. But right now, coming onto the back straight, Ronnie Nunez, right now, Lorenzo, going to be in that tow. He might be able to have a crack going into this first chicane.
He's probably going to have that crack. He wants it. He's looking at it. He's just going to put his car on the inside. Basically, Team Heisenfeld is not going to be doing too much in terms of contesting it. But the speed is not enough. The speed is not enough. It's going to be on the braking.
Can he outbrake Team Heisenfeld and Ronnie Nunez? Good under brakes, gets the job done. But as these two continue to scrap, MSP Phoenix was sitting there getting ready to line them up. And now let's see what Team Heisenfeld does in the tow, whether they're going to try and pull this one out as well. Sitting right in behind, got the draft, got the pull. Actually, I think he's just going to roll out of it just a little bit. And I think he is actually. I don't think he wants to get amongst this battle. He was closing in, then just rolled out of it down the Mulsanne straight. And I think he's going to sit in behind that Talk Freak Racing car at the moment, and I think he's going to do that. So smart strategy there, actually, from Team Heisenfeld. Lorenzo Christian Kiewit could have made that move. He definitely had the pace to do so, but thought better of it. Long way to go. Still 15.5 hours to go. No need to make silly moves that can put both of you in the fence.
Yeah, I think that was the wisest move for Christian, not get involved with any kind of an overtake. So going into the second chicane, just mark the 61 car, just apply small pressure and see if he's gonna fold, but keep it in contact really good. And especially with Christian going to the second half of the stint, his current stint, it's the wise not to overtake so much and just keep the car on track, save the fuel, save the tires, and just drive safely.
Yeah, and that's what he needs to do at the moment. Just using that could actually be saving some fuel, and it's always a good thing when you can have a car like that to save some fuel. Right now, on the Team Heisenfeld, they will be trying to maximize that for their strategy with that Ronnie Nunez Talk Free Racing number 61 in front of them. And while that was going on, obviously, Coenda Sim Sports 88 did come down pit road. They did their service, but this battle is still heating up a little bit, but I think there won't be any much there. But Coenda Sim Sport number 88, they came down. Jorn Jans, they got his pit service done and dusted and pulled back out into P number 5 as actually the Gym Racing team. That is the 96 is on pit lane, and he was battling the 61 before this pit stop cycle, Lorenzo. So this could actually bring those two back and make this a 3-car scrap.
Be really interesting now, coming out of the pits and see where he's going to be placed in the track. But let's see, it's going to be a really interesting one, and new driver coming in.
Yep, new driver going into that car, and let's see what's going to happen. Sitting there waiting for that. Now it comes the Gym Racing team car out of pit lane. Going to roll down pit lane now as actually that 61 Talk Freak Racing is pretty much coming down the front straight now, just about to cross the stripe. So let's see how close this is going to be on pit exit to the other two behind it.
Got to slow down.
Oh, Team Heisenfeld got a slowdown, so that brought him out of the battle. The 61, the Talk Freak Racing, that little battle that they had with Team Heisenfeld has cost them because they are a long way behind. That's a good couple of second gain there from Gym Racing team. Dado Opasek now in that car. I most probably butchered that name as well, but Gym Racing team got out to a good gap.
And now the question now is see if they're gonna maintain that gap. Now with the MSP team going into already outside of the pit lane, going really close. They're doing their pits, preparing to go out of the pit lane. Still same driver, African Birkier, going outside of the pits. Well, now eyes on this double battle inside the Mulsanne.
The battle inside the Mulsanne. We'll see what they can do, but Jim Racing Team right now pretty much going to get that one done, and that's a good position gain for them. But back through this field, and there's some battles that are starting to heat up as MSP Phoenix Racing has served their pit stop as well. They just did that last time around. They've come out right in front of the Pure Racing Team. LMP is going to try and work his way down the inside. Got it done. Good little move there from Maximilian Beneke. That was actually a close one there.
Jake, really quickly, something has probably happened to Pure Racing Team, the GTE blue car, because apparently the Trust Me Vinyl team has managed to overtake the Pure Racing Team.
Good move there from a passing opportunity. Patrick Pitcher made a little bit of a mistake. Gonna have a look at that one, because that's a big move if that is for 3 laps ago he pitted. Just looking at my live timing now, so 3 laps ago was a pit stop there from Patrick Pitcher, so that most probably put that in. So good strategy gain then, because obviously Stefan Musia pitted 5 laps ago, so 2 laps advantage there, and it actually paid off for them. Lorenzo put himself a couple of seconds, roughly a second in front of that Pure Racing Team car.
Roughly a second, but still an important second. He's going to be able to work with clean air, not have any guys behind him with dirty air, so he's not going to have any effect on tires. And of course, there will not be the speed gain like he used to have, but still, clean air is always a good thing.
Clean air is always a great thing, especially in these Grand Touring cars, and definitely would rather have clean air than dirty air at the moment. Pure Racing Team GTE, Patrick Pitchler, he made that mistake coming in here, obviously during this stint, runs a little bit wide, uses a little bit of the dirt on the exit, but he now has to set his sights to try and get that spot back, because he knows that he did that mistake. He knows that he's put himself in this position. He needs to try and get himself back up to P2, because they need to try and close this gap to VRS Commander Sim Sports in that 81 car. Obviously, I know the points are massively spread out, but there is double points on offer here today for the 24 Hours of Le Mans for the Neo Endurance Series. So there's still a lot to play for, but just any position can count right now for Pure Racing Team GTE.
Yeah, any position for them would be really important into this part of the championship, considering they are in the top 5. They kind of have a battle for this top 3 of the championship, and who knows, maybe even for the top spot of the championship, depending on results. But still, this battle too close to calls as of the moment.
Yeah, too close at the moment as the other Pure Racing Team. LMP works their way through that little battle there, and he gets himself in front just before the Porsche curves. And I think he wanted to try and just maybe upset the Thrustmaster Movano car into that section of the racetrack. Just tried to put a little bit of dirty air on the front of that car as they went through, but right now the gap's still roughly a second, and they're going to still go through. But yeah, Pure Racing Team GTE coming in second in the championship. They've actually got to try and beat that VRS Commander Sim Sports 88 car, the sister car to the championship leading car. Right now they're doing that, Lorenzo, and they're putting themselves in a good position to solidify their second. If only they had finished the first race at Sebring and got points there, who knows how close the title battle could be. But right now, it's not about that. He's got to try and see if he can close this gap back to Thrustmaster Movano. Doing a good job holding that gap at the moment is Stefan Musia, and right now he's just got to be patient. Obviously, he's later on in his stint, I should say. That's a LMP prototype down the inside the HPD. That has hurt. A little bit of flash of the lights there from Patrick Pitcher. I don't think he liked that move going into turn number 1. Or turn number 2, I should say. That was a little bit of a risky move there from Team GT HPD.
Move. Usually, if you go into maybe some splits, that would be kind of a dive bomb move, which would be kind of unsafe, and you could be hit because he just comes so fast. You basically have no time to react. Your reaction from Patrick Pitchler to avoid the hit, and of course he's not going to be satisfied by it. He just lost a second. Grabbing that second back is going to be quite a challenge.
Yeah, that's a hard second to gain, especially with how that Thrustmaster Bavano, the pace of that car has been good so far in the first couple of hours of this race. So that's going to hurt Patrick Pitcher. And now he's going to overdrive the car. A little bit of a mistake there on the exit of the turn 1 chicane, and that's what happens. You get into that rhythm of a little bit of red mist. You obviously get dive bombed by that, and now you got to do all the work for you. Now back to the 61 car. It seems to be this is going to be our car for this stint, Lorenzo, of our commentary team. The 61 car, Torque Freak Racing right now in a battle with the 96. Once again, Jim Racing Team, they came out a handful of laps ago, and now all over the back straight away of Ronnie Nunez is Dado Opasek. And now he's going to see what he can do to try and get back that position that they only had before the pit stop cycle. But now nothing they can do about it when they're sitting right behind that GTE.
You kind of predicted it, haven't you, Jake? Like this battle was going to happen, but kind of a good battle between those 4 GTEs. Let's see if Dado Opachak is going to be having the stint necessary, the driver racetrack necessary to make the move. Maybe not on Porsche, because Porsche should not be the best of places for you to overtake, but on a later stage.
See what he does, but he's going to sit right in behind through these Porsche curves and try and see if he can get the run. And it's always a difficult section through here, especially following another car. Now through the right, going to flow down through the right, then the left to exit the Porsche curves. And he still hasn't lost that much time, so definitely there's pace in that Jim Racing Team car, especially in the dirty air, to try and go and use multiple different lines coming out there. As the Torque Freak car nearly looks like he's entering pit lane there. That is obviously just Ronnie Nunez is trying to see how much of track limits he can use, but that's a fair bit out there. Goes all the way 4 tyres over, but any time gain, drivers are going to find it. We know that. Drivers are always going to look for anything on that racetrack that they can get an advantage from. They do that to open up that corner, and right now this 96 gonna be in his toe down the Mulsanne, and he's a little bit of a mistake there from Ronnie Nunez through the first chicane. And now let's see what's gonna happen, Lorenzo, because I think Jim Racing Team Ford, he's gonna be in that toe. Whether he can get a good enough slipstream down this straight to be able to pull something off into that first chicane, it's going to be difficult, but I think he might be able to do so.
Yeah, he might be able to do so. Now, Tetra Rouge, for those who are not aware, with racing in general, not only sim racing, this is a very important curve because you need as much speed as possible to carry out into Mulsanne and have that front, the top speed, so you can basically close out the gap, making an overtake in one of the chicanes. That didn't happen for Dado Opachak. That is actually went better for Ronnie Nunez. But Dado is doing so much work on the chicanes and curves, like closing that gap and putting his car closer and closer, working really nicely and smoothly as an LMP goes by.
As an LMP gets amongst the back, who's actually going to pull out and try and use as much toe as he could from that one as well. So Dado is going to slot back in behind the 61 of the Torque Freak Racing of Ronnie Nunez, and going to follow him through this second chicane on the Mulsanne, and going to see if he can get a good exit here. That's what he needs to hope for, a good clean exit, and that he does, but he's just not close enough at the moment. Not a lot of toe draft being given right now. He just can't pull up enough, Lorenzo, to get the sort of spot that I think he'd want. He's just, I think, a tenth away than what he'd like to be to maybe close that gap and get the ultra speed. Here he comes now in the later stage of the run, but it's too late. He's going to have to slow down, brake for this tricky right-hander, but he closes in under brakes. He is there. Whether he can get a good exit here, he didn't, and that's the thing. They're just not maximizing their exits at the moment. Is the Jim Racing Team for GTE, but right now he's close enough. He was able to gain the ground under brakes, and now he's in the slipstream a little bit better than he was down to Mulsanne, and he might be able to do something about this one, Lorenzo, into Indianapolis. Get then not this time, just rolls out of it and sticks there again. So just gonna flow for this time, I think, around this lap is obviously the 96 Jim Racing Team forward. And, oh, he had a look there, Lorenzo, just before into Arnage. He had a look, he thought about it. Obviously, that gap shut quicker than he could try and make that move. So just good battling through this stage. But these two just, I think, going to be nose to tail for most of this stint. And I think the rest of the stint's to come, Lorenzo.
If I am not, no, they don't have. I was just listening to some other guy, commentator going crazy. But one of the things that actually I'm quite impressed in Ronnie Nunez in this part of the race, even though he has a much later stint compared to Dado, he has 3 more laps of tires. He's making good use of the tires, managing to keep it on track, and making Dado overuse the car, overdrive the car. And the more a driver overdrives that car, the more tire will be spent. So if it keep going like this, they're going to be on equal pace, and maybe, who knows, Ronnie can maybe pull away in the late stages of their stints.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be where the pace is going to come out and how far they're going to pull away in these stints. But let's see what they can do through the first chicane again, through turn 1, through turn 2. Now up over the rise and down through this roller coaster of a section, which I always love, down through the S's, the left, then the right. That they hit to the left on the inside, use all that curve, then the right, and try and now set yourself up for Tetra Rouge to get yourself a good run onto that Mulsanne straight, and a good job there from Jim Racing Team to try and maximize it, but it's just not close enough to Ronnie Nunez out in front. And it's having a look through, and I think Trustmaster Movano, they came down last time round, and that was our race lead as well. That battle sort of calms itself down. So race leaders just come down pit road, 41.7 seconds now behind the leader as they come across the straight to finish off that out lap right there. And that's actually a driver change as well. Marcus Hamilton in the 33 for Thrustmaster Movano Racing, and I think we'll expect obviously the other cars to come down pit lane soon. As I say that, the Thrustmaster Movano Racing number 34 on pit road for their second service of this one. Well, second service of our stint in this one, as he comes down on the pit lane, Lorenzo, to get his service.
Place is going to catch up in main and manage to overtake. It's actually quite far from the third place. By the way, in the front of the GT field, the 55 done his service. Alexander Voss coming out again, doing his first, going through the first chicane off the Mulsanne. But now the gap is quite close compared to the Trustmaster Movano race. Now the gap is around 7 seconds, but as said, Helsingborg, the Core Motorsports have newer tires, maybe, and also the field too.
Yeah, multiple strategies there that allowing Heisenberg Core Motorsports now. Did their pit stop come out? As I'm looking now, I think that's Trustmaster Movano leaving the pit lane, and that they are. And that's going to be a good little pit stop then. They're actually going to stay out in front of Radicals Online and Team Chimera. As I'm having a look at Radicals Online coming down the front straight right now, and it's going to be a close battle between the two. No, it's not. There's a little bit of a gap there, but definitely the gap is close now between Radicals Online and Thrustmaster Movano, Lorenzo.
Yeah, the gap right now is over 6 seconds, 7 seconds now, increasing a little bit. Remains to be seen if the Trustmaster Movano put some new tires. I didn't see if they were putting new tires. Remains to be seen, but the gap is actually stretching out a little bit, going back and forth. So remains to be seen if Gabor is going to be able to keep this car on track. He's going for his second stint, double stinting his car. So really interesting driving from the Trustmaster 34 team.
Very interesting driving from them to see what they can do as we're coming up to the final stages of this first hour that we're going to be with you for the Near Endurance Series here for 24 hours on Le Mans, the final 10 minutes of the first part of this this 8 to 12 hour stint as that Thrustmaster Movano works his way past one of the GTE Fords as Pure Racing Team goes through for another lap out in front. Across the strike coming into turn number 1 this time as we're looking through for another battle out on racetrack. This time there's that MSP Phoenix racing car once again in a good battle this time. Right behind them, that German Racing .de Ferrari. Going to see what they can do in that 67 car. That is Nicholas Behrens right now. Lorenzo, he is there. He could try and make a move coming through Porsche curves on entry, but I just don't think he will try that. A bit risky, especially in an endurance race. He might want to do that in a sprint race around here, which doesn't usually happen, but we'll see what he does here. I think he'll just sit in behind through the Porsche curves. Maybe wait for that final part of the chicane.
Yeah, you don't want to work in the very early stages, of course, because you're going to be caught by dirty air. Your car will be offset. He needs just to work the gap, see if he's going to be within some good touching range for an overtake on the other driver ahead of you. So thus far, just keep the car on track, Nicholas, and work on the gap itself for an overtake later on.
He actually rolled out of that one through Porsche curves. Didn't like the dirty air from the MSP Phoenix Racing Ford, and rolled out of it. Give himself a bit of a gap, and right now that MSP car in front of him through this final chicane can get a good run. Definitely got the pace as the 67. You can see it through that final the final Estes complex through the Ford chicane. He definitely had more speed over that Ford in front of him. Whether Nicholas Behrens can do anything about that is yet to be seen, but he's definitely there to able to challenge for that position right now. And this is, I think it's going to be a fair way outside. I think it's outside the top 15 in positions for this class right now, and back out and seeing what they can do before we head for another hour done in the books for the Neo Endurance Series 24-hour. Having a look through the front part of the field as well. The gaps are pretty much spread out more than I thought they would. Lorenzo at this stage, 8.2 seconds from Heisenfeld Core back to Thrustmaster Movano, and that is obviously due to the fact that the pit stop cycle is out of sequence. But Thrustmaster Movano, we were talking about this battle before, Lorenzo. They have pulled out roughly 6 seconds on Pure Racing Team GTE of Patrick Pitchler. It just goes to show that little mistake, that little error with that HPD has cost him quite a bit, because he dropped away from about 2 seconds now to 6 seconds, and that's going to be a difficult gap to try and build back up.
You need to look at the driver himself, see if he's frustrated and everything, because we have to count the driver too. You have to counter if he's frustrated or he's coming back to school, because those mistakes, even for a top-notch driver like these guys are, takes a little bit of toll mentally, psychologically. You get a little bit frustrated, so you wanna do something to close the gap once again, but you overdrive the car. So you need to be very careful into not doing those mistakes, and apparently that's what happened to Patrick. And the gap stretching out lap by lap, even though the stint difference is not huge between both drivers.
Yeah, it definitely is, and now actually behind as well, and he's got to be calm because Vieira's Commander Simsport is actually closing down that gap to that third position. He is right there, 8.7 seconds coming into Indianapolis. So just go to show, obviously losing touch with Thrustmaster Movano, but now going back into the clutches of the VRS Commander Simsport. The championship leaders at the moment, the 81 right now, Marty Patilia, coming in P number 4 in front of his teammate. The other Commander Simsport car, the sister car, running in P number 5, but we will run through the top 10 I think right now, because we are coming down to the final 4 minutes, so only one lap left to run, but we'll run them through right now in that prototype class right now, as after hour number 9 in the books. It is Pure Racing Team LMP out in front right now. Maximilian Benecke just driving away from this field at the moment. He's got about 45 seconds over the Thrustmaster Movano Racing LMP and Marcus Hamilton, who is just coming over through obviously the donut curve right now into the Estes complex. P number 3 in prototypes, the 34 Thrustmaster Movano Racing LMP1. LMP, and as I should say, is Radicals Online, P number 4 with Team Chimera. Simon Trindle rounding out that top 5 at the moment. The final car on the lead lap for the prototype class. Running through the top 5 right now before our number 9 ticks over in terms of the Heisenberg Core Motorsports for Grand Touring class. Out in front, that's Alexander Voss leading that class with Thrustmaster Bavano Racing GTE in P number 2, just in front of Pure Racing Team GTE Blue. That's Patrick Pitchler with obviously Matti Patilia running the championship leader in P number 4 with the sister car for VRS Commander Simsport running in P number 5. We're going to take a quick break if we can here under this one for the Neo Endurance era. We're going to go to a fan immersion, as I get from Hugo Luis. We're going to go to a fan immersion here. So we're going to go fan immersion. Let's try and see. Let's actually go on board with the VRS Commander Simsport number 81 car, the championship leader right now in the Grand Touring category, and right on board with Marty Patilia for a lap, or half a lap and a bit, around Le Mans. Welcome back to Race Sport TV and iRacing Live. That was Fan Immersion with Martin Patilia in that Vero Escuenda Sim Sport here for the 24 hours Le Mans in the Neo Endurance Series. And right now, that Vero Escuenda Sim Sport trying to chase down that Pure Racing Team GTE blue car of Patrick Pichler, who is currently sitting in P number 4 in the category right now out there in class. And definitely, as we go back, as Hugo brings us back, and straight away, the 96 is in a close battle. This time it's not the 61, it's actually the 75. It's SRN Motorsports Orange, so the 96 I think is going to be our car to watch, as he is in a close battle with this 75. The SRN Motorsports Stephen McGarvey all over the back of that 96 as we come back. Lorenzo, this is a close battle right now that definitely could spice things up. It looks like they might be able to have a look at that SRN Motorsports Orange car. Might be able to have a look to the inside. They've actually got their teammate, the 74 car, that moves over, and the 75 has a look in the Porsche curves, but not close enough this time, Lorenzo.
He needs to work the Porsche curves the way he can make a move after it, going outside of the Porsche on the exit. Just keep it clean. Let's see if he's going to go get a good movement. Just keeping in touch. Yeah, he's going to be able to actually get a good run into the start-finish line. Have to Dunlop it maybe. Who knows? Make an overtake.
It's always hard to pass here, but you can definitely try and make a move. Just got to be confident in the car and what you've got underneath you, and confident as well, and trust the person in front of you. They're going to give you the room if you are down that inside, because it is very difficult to pass.
Bad exit from the 96.
Yeah, very bad exit. This could open the door for the 75. Stephen McGarvey, he might have a look. He's definitely going to have the run coming through Turnable on Dunlop curve, coming up into the chicane. He's definitely having a look. Not close enough though this time round. Jim Racing Team definitely trying to put a stranglehold. Runs it a little bit deep. Suffered on the second part of that chicane. That's definitely put the 75 back in touch. Coming down through this S's complex. And now I think definitely it's all going to be about Tetra Rouge and see who can get the better run right now, because I think that's what he needs, Lorenzo. If Stephen McGarvey can get the run out of here now, he might be able to have a look going into that first chicane.
Yeah, he needs that good run. I think Gatto has a more aggressive run out of the Tetra Rouge. But now, here goes Steven working the slipstream. He's actually 2 seconds. He's going to go 1/10 of a second. He's going for the move. Most definitely he's going for the move. He's going to be on the braking zone.
Down the inside he goes, and Stephen McGarvey gets the job done before the corner. Good run, good move, and solid position gained there from the 75 SRN Motorsports Orange car. Moves himself up. I think that's actually inside the top 10, and he'll do a quick run down. It would be P number 8, I think, out there on the racetrack. And that's a good move there. For a class position gain for SRM Motorsports Orange, moving himself in front of Jim Racing Team, the number 96, who has been our action man for pretty much most of this race that we've been here, Lorenzo. The 96 and the 61 have had a battle, but now definitely moving himself out. And Lorenzo, let's shoot you over. We have got a driver in here. Jack Keithley is going to come in for an interview, trying to figure out which car he is a part of, and I'm not sure we would not know, but Hugo will fill us in. Team Chimera. So Lorenzo, you're going to be stood by with Team Chimera's Jack Keithley, as we'll bring him into the commentary.
Oh, we got here the Team Chimera driver, Jack Keithley. Jack, how's it going, my man? How's been your stint thus far in your team? How do you assess your team performance as we approached 9 hours? We're already 9 hours in, so what do you assess from it?
Well, considering what happened before we even got to the start, it's amazing where we are right now. It's been a really good race. Again, aside from what happened, mainly the first stint, because the first stint was just going backwards the whole time. But ever since then, it's just been, the car's been so good, and we're still lacking at least half a second of lap time with damage which we'll never be able to get away.
Are sticking to your strategy. Well, Hugo telling me there was an incident during pace lap before the green flag, so that's what maybe affected your car and put a little bit of damage. Well, still, you had quite a good lengthy stint, Jack. Well, how do you assess? What do you make from it? Was it a good stint, and did you have to alternate your strategy? Did you have to change it midway through the race with this incident?
Not midway. We just we were planning to, you know, take tyres on every second pit stop, every other pit stop, but we changed tyres on the very first pit stop, and ever since then, you know, we're changing tyres on odd number stops. But overall, it's still been really good. Just gotta pray we keep our noses clean, which we haven't been able to do much all season, but for the rest of the race, it would be nice to end the season with a clean car.
And what do you make about the whole season as a whole? Like, you guys had your up and downs, but still, you guys have still a good contention in this championship to jump a few spots. You guys right now 14th in the standings, but still tied with Simitalk. But what do you think? You guys gonna be able to jump a few spots, and what do you look to next season? Will you jump to the LMP ones if the chance is given?
Absolutely, I think we'll give LMP1s a go. As far as the season's gone, it's just been riddled with bad luck. I know it's been the odd mistake from me, Josh, or Ben, but still, we've just caught the bad end of a lot of things which were just out of our control. But whenever that's been the case, we've always still pushed ourselves, see what we can get the most out of the car with, even with damage, see what we can do. And usually we end up with actually a pretty half decent car, but we've improved the car through every race this season, and now I feel like for this one, we could have had contention for third place, possibly even second, without what happened at the start. So yeah, hopefully if this goes into next season and we're still racing, then yeah, it should translate well into LMP1.
And just to capitalize for my part, will we expect to see you again back on track?
Yes, tomorrow about UK time, 1 PM, about then. We'll see. Yeah, I've got to get some sleep soon though. I'm absolutely shattered.
I imagine. I don't know if Jake has any questions before we wrap this one up.
I don't have any questions at all, Jack, but definitely sleep is a must. Get some sleep before your next stint, because I think it's going to heat up with all these strategies unfolding right now. Obviously Simon Trundle doing a good job holding down P number 5, but good stint early on. Unfortunate to hear about the incident during the pace lap, but hopefully you guys can finish this one off strong with a clean car.
Yeah, I got to give massive credit to Simon. He has done a great job so far. He's worked wonders with the car, as has the rest of the team. But as of right now, with just me and Simon doing the driving and Jamie doing the engineering side, it's just been smooth sailing since, well, obviously past the accident, but it's been really good.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it, especially holding down P number 5. So thank you for joining us, Jack, and hopefully you can get a good night's sleep before you come back and join in that car later on in the race.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. See you later.
Thank you. That was Jack Keithley for Team Chimera, the 24 car. Right now, driven by Simon Trundle. Coming in P number 5, Lorenzo's a good little run for them at the moment. And it's good to hear that, like Jack said, that they've just been working at it, just been trying to do it. Obviously, alternating tyres each stint. So one stint they'll double them, and the other one they'll put fresh tyres on. Seems to be working for them right now, Lorenzo, because it's put him in a good position.
Hey, it has put him in a good position. It has put him into 5th place and putting them into contention. Who knows, maybe into 4th place, 3rd place, depending on the other 2 guys up ahead do. And, well, such a shame, of course, it happened on the pace lap, but it would have been much worse, and still they're on the lead lap considering what happened to them. So pretty much a positive outtake here in this race.
Yeah, definitely a positive outtake on this race, and after a difficult season they can still make up some positions. That's what happens with double points, especially having a good strong run like they are. A couple of other cars obviously having their dramas out there on the racetrack, but while we were going through that interview with Jack Keithley from Team Chimera, the lead battle has obviously changed a little bit. Pure Racing Team came down pit roads 3 laps ago from the race lead. They are now 8.6 seconds behind Thrustmaster Movano Racing right now out in front, and the battle's still on between Jim Racing Car, and that's what I had to bring up. Jim Racing Team is right now back behind the SRN Motorsports orange car. This time Stephen Mugabe's got Dado Opake behind him, and Now he's going to try and see if he can use this Mulsanne straight Lorenzo to try and get a run into that first chicane. And this time, not able to do anything with it. A bad exit out of Tete Rouge, and he's now going to have to sit in behind him another lap, Lorenzo, and there's not really much he can do there unless he's getting a good bit of slipstream towards the end of this straight. But this first chicane's going to hurt him a lot. He's not going to be able to do anything with it. He's definitely there. Is he going to look to the inside? No, he's not. Going to sit in behind him for another portion of this racetrack, and maybe have another look coming out of here after the first chicane. A little bit of a bad exit from SRN Motorsports Orange. Stephen McGarvey at the wheel of that at the moment, but Lorenzo, he's just not close enough to get the job done.
He should have been at least less than a 0.3 of a second. He just needs to work now into the second chicane because he's not going to be able to outbrake. You see the car closing in, but it's just not going to be enough. It's just not going to be enough to Dado to make a move. Now he needs to work the second chicane, needs good exit, needs to go strong into the inside and strong on the outside and have that gap. But apparently, even with a good exit, but 0.4 of a second is not going to be enough.
The exit from this Jim Racing team Ford has been pretty poor compared to other cars. Talk Freak Racing obviously had the exit that was better in that battle. Now he's got this battle with SRN Motorsports Orange, and the exit is just not up to par with them either. So obviously struggling with exit grip in that car at the moment. And again, coming off the corner, not able to do, got a better exit. Maybe the curb's upselling that car at the moment, but he's definitely there to maybe have a look this time round. He's going to have a little bit of a peel out coming into Indianapolis. Can he get the run? He's within a 0.2 of a second. He's just going to sit there. I think he's just going to feather the throttle, it sounds like, and wait for another time. A better time to make a move, Lorenzo. Just thought better then. We've just got a little bit of a calm, patient driving. Knows he's got some pace, but just got to try and pick his mark. Yeah,
he needs to work patiently in his car. He has 3 more laps than the car ahead of him. So he got more spent tires. And plus, one thing that I've been seeing from Dado is that he's going too strong into some of the corners, especially after Dunlop, like the chicane, the uphill chicane. He's going too strong at it, so that costs a little bit of tires, and you need every rubber possible to try to make a move. Oh, he nearly goes at Porsche. That's a dangerous place you want to go.
Having a look at Porsche curves to try and nail everything you can, I think, to try and get this move done. It's an interesting one to throw it down the inside of Porsche curves, but definitely had a look. Definitely tried to put SRO Motorsports and Stephen McCarthy off Dado, trying to see whether he can maybe get a run now into the final Ford chicane, but that's even a difficult spot to pass coming now. But let's see whether that SRN, they both just use all that exit road to flow the car through that first part of the chicane. Now a little bit of brake, get the car turned for the left, then the right, use all the exit road and a little bit of dirt on the exit. And now another lap completed in the books, 142 completed, and now these are 141, I should say, completed for these two coming up across the start-finish line and up through turn number 1. And Lorenzo, not much separating them. He definitely, you can see it, like you said, he's just running a little bit more aggressive into the corners, and that's hurting his exit again. A little bit of a wiggle on exit, that cost him a couple of tenths there, Lorenzo. Let's see whether he can get a run. Actually, that's a definitely, yeah, that's an Ava 6 Sports HPD behind as well. Sorry, Lorenzo. It's gonna get, oh, that was a little bit dicey. One wanted to go the other way, one wanted to go the other way, and they both nearly collided there. A little bit of a mistake from both of them. Jim Racing Team should have just held their position, but thought better of it. Nearly cut off that Ava SimSport HPD.
Nearly having a little bit of a one-off for the HPD, but keeping it strong, keeping it safe, and trying to work that run once again. By the way, we got a good one up in the front with the VRS Coenda, with Jordan Jens closing the gap on a Tristan Movano race, which just come out of the pits.
That gap looks like it is on right now. That's Rasmus Movano, Stefan Wilsila in that car. He's in front of the 88 Coenda SimSport, so the 81 has come down pit lane as well. Jorn Jens now sitting behind this Rasmus Movano car. Going to see if he can maybe make a move on him, but I don't think he'll be able to, especially with just coming out of the pit lane. There's a bundle of HPDs. Here comes one, here comes two. They're all going to come down the inside, and I think Jorn Jens just big roll out there into turn one, Lorenzo. I think he maybe, I don't think he got to slow down. Yeah, whether he got to slow down or he just thought better off to let those HPDs through, because that was a big slowdown for him.
Yeah, that was a big slowdown. Quite a strange one.
Sorry to cut you off, that's Joel. Joel Tremblay spun behind. It's a Logical Vortex Sim Racing LMP car. HPD off through the Esses complex. He did make the fence. He was actually running right behind the Coenda Sinsport car that we were following on. Just lost the rear and around it went. And that was all she wrote. Put it in the fence. Big hit to that left front. It's coming up on the replay of that. I think he tried to go to the inside of the Coenda car, but the position wasn't on to try and get that move done there.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an optimistic move for you to go over there, because it has a little bit of a bump over the S's and can offset the car. That's what happened with Joe Tremblay. Just couldn't save it, and needs to know where if the front damage on his car is going to take a little bit of a toll, is going to affect the performance on his car.
Yeah, it might affect him just a little bit. As we're looking at another battle out on the racetrack. That is the BAM Thrustmaster number 17 HPD with the Probatum Racing HPD right now. Luke, I think it's Luke Batali right now in the 17 car with the 6 of Julio Ornelas running behind him, and this is for 16th and 17th. They are multiple laps behind the race lead, but still out there on the racetrack circulating, trying to get as many points. The cars look pretty clean out there at the moment. And whether this Probatum racing car can do anything about the BAM Thrustmaster car right now, Lorenzo, it's yet to be seen, because he just can't close that gap enough. He gained 2 seconds last time round, but now he's in that dirty air. He can't get anything more out of it.
Yeah, that chase has been going for quite a few laps. If I am not mistaken, has been for the last 4 or 5 laps. This chase between Julio Ornelas and Luke Batali. So now it needs to be seen if Julio is going to make a move, because he has much longer stint compared to Luke. He has 7 more laps, and needs to see if the tires will hold up to a battle of this proportion.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard for him, but it's actually last lap 2 seconds quicker, or roughly just over a second and a half quicker than the car in front. Julio Ornelas might be able to do something with that, but now coming through the Porsche curves, I think he's just dropping away a little bit behind them. I think that is actually another one of, that is Tio Martin Esports. He is running in P number 10 at the moment. So they're going to close in on this battle, and this is the difficult thing right now. You've got these two guys that are in their own little heated battle in sort of 16th and 17th. They're not running the pace of that the Tio Martin Esports car, but he's going to try and work his way through them. But you sort of all match to the same car, same class. This is where this sort of endurance racing comes to fruition. As I say, that Probatum Racing pulls off in the pit lane and is going to get his service. So that is 13 laps in the books for him on that stint. And in comes Julio Ornelas to get that pit stop cycle done. Maybe put some tires on it, maybe not, just put some fuel in it and get it going again, Lorenzo. So that little paddle has now just diffused itself.
Yeah, just diffused itself. So, but it's still good chase from Julio against Luke, keeping the car up close, and that will give him a lot of options later. Once Luke makes his pit stop, I don't know if there is going to be some gain. It remains to be seen. But actually really good stint, keeping the car in track, making good use of the dirty air and also the air itself. And let's see, it opened up a little bit of a room to the team of the car number 6.
Yeah, it's opened up strategy to now maybe try and gain that position later on as they made that change, and I think that's actually one of the logical Vortex cars has come down in the pit lane as well. Back to the 96, the Jim Racing team for GTE for the Grand Touring class right now, right behind the 75, the SRO Motorsports Orange. He looks to the inside. This is Dado Obago, gets the job done, and Stephen McGarvey, he could have shut the door, but thought better of it, let through that Gym Racing team. He's going to have a look to the inside. Nope, thought better of that one, did Stephen McGarvey. Standing behind SRM, and again, the exit of that Gym Racing team Ford is not as strong, and this could definitely hurt. He's got to run again, does SRM Motorsports Orange. Stephen McGarvey might be able to use this, lose the draft. The look to the inside on entry into Porsche cars is a difficult spot to make the pass, and he thought better of it, rolled out, and going to sit in behind once again. But this battle's gone again, Lorenzo. This 96 car, we may as well just keep a separate camera on him for the whole race.
Yeah, we gotta put a camera on him in some other cars, even the 75, which has been quite a little bit of highlight over here in this later half of the, in this late first half of the race. But one thing to be noticed, actually, Dado nearly going to the barrier of the Porsche curve. Wide of dangers when he went off, but managed to recover the car, but the gap really close. And a good exit from the 75. Here we go.
Yeah, great exit from the 75 compared to that Gym Racing Team Ford GT in front of him. Now let's see what he can do through into turn 1, through the Dunlop curve. Now coming up into the Dunlop chicane and not able to do anything with that run. Gym Racing Team really strong under brakes, but loses it on the exit. That's sort of their strength and weakness that they've got at the moment in that 96, and right now the 75 unable to do anything with that. For Stephen McGarvey, he's going to have to sit in behind for another lap and maybe even get this toe down the Mulsanne that might be able to help him make any position that he can. But right now the gap just opening up a bit, Lorenzo. Gym Racing Team, that first sector, he nailed that because that's what he needed to do. Dado opening up that gap to over 0.6 of a second. That's what you need to do if you don't want to get the car behind in the toe.
Yeah, you don't want to get a car behind it, especially in this first part of Mulsanne, the first of 3, because it's the longer part. It has the longer straight, so you can work your speed better. But you can see the 75 is working a little bit of an aggressive line, as now he closes the gap to 0.4 of a second. So the option of overtaking could happen if he works really well the second part. If he does really well, it can open up the final part of the Mulsanne to maybe a dive bomb at the end of it. But if you want to really play it safe, I wouldn't do that. And let's see if Steven is going to have the same thought as I would have.
I think he is. I think he's going to wait again, but he can try and line himself up for the next part of the Mulsanne straight, going through the Mulsanne kink, and maybe be able to do something with this right now. Coming down this one is within 0.3 of a second, but it's not enough on this short straight to do anything with it, and he's not running in the toe. So obviously just trying to run just off the pace a little bit and just sit there right now for the SRM Motorsports Orange Ford GT car. And once again, no position change. They're just going to run nose to tail. Maybe a look into Indianapolis, but I don't think that'll happen as the two of them coming down through this back straight. And Lorenzo, this is pretty much the closest battle we've got out there on the racetrack. Pure Racing Team GT for their car class today just came in, did their pit stop cycle, so that shuffled up the top 5 once again. But these two, he's definitely on the run. Stephen McGarvey, can he have a look to the inside? No, he can't. So he's going to have to sit in behind again for another lap, Lorenzo, because definitely through the final part of this track, not a lot of passing opportunities.
Yeah, not a lot of passing opportunities. Basically 0 passing opportunities. You can have at least 1 or 2, but it's after Porsche. Even at Porsche, if you have the guts to try to go for it and you can actually stick it in, but it's a high risk, and high risk comes with high rewards. But if you want to go for it, go right ahead. But if you do it one bit wrong, game over. Your car is done.
Yeah, any mistake through this Porsche curves in terms of a move, and that would be day done. And right now, they're just going to sit nose to tail again as we're reaching the 9.5 hour mark of this race, and it's sort of winding down, coming closer and closer to halfway in this race. And we're going to take you through all the way to halfway, Lorenzo and myself, Hugo as well, working the cameras as always. And right now these two still nose to tail, no change. And when you think of it, that Gym Racing Team, this is actually going to be completing his 13th lap on this stint, so he'll be coming down I'd say next time round, Lorenzo. So it's going to diffuse this battle once again. It's going to put the Gym Racing team back with Talk Freak Racing, who only just served their pit stop 2 laps ago, but they were a good 10 odd seconds up the road, so they're not going to be as close as they would have liked before. But this little battle may get diffused next lap, especially if Gym Racing team comes down pit road, Lorenzo.
Yeah, there have been 13 laps. Usually the stints for all cars have been around 14, maybe a 15 lap if you are a little bit lucky and you save up that fuel. But it never has been 14 laps, so yeah, we do expect him to come into pits this time around. We'll defuse the battle. They will eventually lose a little bit of time. The time that probably they wouldn't want to lose, but we still have a lot of race left. We still have nearly 14 hours left into this race, so it's quite a lot. But every 10th of a second, especially now, is going to make a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, any time gained now can make any difference later on. Any time lost can make a big difference later on. And having a look now at through the battles, and I think someone just pitted out in front. It was I think it was a Radicals Online car just pitted as well, so that changed that little change out in front in terms of positions. But the SRN Motorsports orange car still not able to do anything without this tow. Just gonna have to sit in behind, because they know that Gym Racing team, if they had their lap count, they had someone looking at the stints for that Gym Racing team, they know that they're going to come down pit lane this time round. So there'd be no point in fighting this battle too hard right now, Lorenzo, because there's no gain really at the end of the day. You may as well sit behind, save a little bit of fuel if you can to stretch out your own stint, and try and play the strategy game that way to try and jump them in the pit stop rather than get them before they make theirs.
Yeah, because if you really want to go after it, you can go after it and maybe make the move, but it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make good sense for a driver to go before the driver makes the pit stop. So just work it out really fine. Oh, I think we got the 96 kind of penalty or something like that. Bad exit, losing speed.
Yeah, bad exit or slowdown for Dado in that Gym Racing team. Ford, he's actually lost a lot of time there. He's going to slot in behind and I think it must have been a slowdown, because he's still slowing down that car right now, and yep, he's dropping a long way off. So a big slowdown penalty for the Gym Racing team number 96, and those are those mistakes. You're coming up to the end of the stint. He would have just had a lapse in concentration of coming into the pit lane at this lap, sort of trying to figure out what he needs to do for the stop, whether there's a driver change, etc. That little mistake threw him out of his rhythm. He made a mistake going through that back corner, last corner of the Mulsanne, and now look at it, he's about a good roughly 1 second behind the SRN Motorsports car, and it's put him on the back burner for this stint.
Yeah, put him on the back burner, especially that last corner of Mulsanne is highly known. If you go inside quite too much, and that's what Dado did, it usually gives you a 1 second and a half to 2 seconds slowdown, and that is costful. That is really costful. You don't want that in any kind of the race, whether it's the 12 hours of Le Mans, the 6 hours, the 24, the 26, doesn't matter. It's gonna be quite a toll, especially in a good battle like this. And Dado is going for one more lap.
Interesting for Dado to actually be taking it that extra lap. I think I would have pulled it in myself, just to knowing that they made that little mistake. Just reset, a good reset, come down, get a reset, whatever strategy you could sit there for the time of the pit stop, just to sort of calm yourself to go back out there and get back into a rhythm. So we'll see what he does this time around, whether he does. We'll keep an eye on that. But that sort of really opened up that battle between those two and out there on the racetrack. I think everyone else is sort of in their own little world. There's a little bit of a battle, but I think that's actually two teammates just sort of rolling through at the moment. But everyone else sort of out there on the racetrack, pretty much the closest battle. Actually, having a look at this race lead right now, 8 seconds separates the race lead. That's Thrashmaster Movano Racing compared to, and as I say that, I think the 33 has actually just come down pit lane.
Yeah, and Jake, actually the closest battle we might have aside that one might be between the 67 and the 85. The gap between them is around 0.7 of a second, and it's slightly decreasing. It goes back and forth. But Alexander Lila from German Sim Racing Team.de is making quite a few little bit mistakes that is costing him in some of the curves, especially curves like this, slow curves.
Yeah, it's hurting him at the moment as he's got the MSP Phoenix racing car right behind him. That's the number 85 Ford GT, trying to close down to this German Sim Racing.de car in front of him. The Ferrari 0.6 of a second separates these two. Pretty much identical lap times last time round, so these guys are in pretty much in a heated battle at the moment for the past couple of laps while we've been looking at that other battle with Jim Racing Team and SRN Motorsports Orange. And coming through the Porsche curves, pretty much MSP Phoenix not able to do anything about it in terms of in that draft. And runs a lot of track on the exit, does the Ford, but then the HPD is going to come and get amongst this one. That's with Vortex. I think that's a logical. Vortex Sim Racing HPD gets through on both of them, but that's definitely held up the Sim Racing.de car because the MSP Phoenix car is all over the back. You might be able to have a look now, Lorenzo, into turn 1.
Yeah, you might have that look, and quite a little bit of a dangerous moment after the Porsche cars. The HPG nearly got close with the MSP Phoenix car. Nearly a side hit between both drivers, but they managed to keep it clean. It remains to be seen if the MSP is going to get a slowdown. No, he doesn't. Well, good battle. Battle on, people. Don't die.
Yeah, these guys are fighting hard. MSP Phoenix Racing want this position, try and get themselves in a better position for later on in this race. I think they would like some clean air. They're both on pretty much the same strategy. 1 lap separating, 3 laps was the pit stop window 3 laps ago for MSP Phoenix Racing. German Sim Racing.de came down 4 laps ago. So there's not much separating, but definitely in the tow is Lubomir Schwitz. I think I butchered that one the worst you can, so if Justin did any worse, I did worse. As he comes down around the outside, he does, and MSP Phoenix Racing gets that position nice and cleanly past German Sim Racing.de, moves himself up another position to P31 overall. That'll just be outside the top 10 for Grand Touring class.
Yeah, especially for the MSP, you need to have a really good outing in this race. They are actually tied with Helsingveld Core Motorsports team in points. They have 69 each team, but Helsingveld actually holding up the front margin because of better results. So they need a good result over here. This is not doing good for them. They need to go further up the field, work the pace, and engaging in battles like this, good for now, but they need to keep that hustle going. They need more hustle.
Yeah, and especially now looking at the points, that was exactly why that MSP Phoenix Racing car was so eager to get that position done. Heisenberg Core Motorsports, they're out in front right now. At double points, that's just going to pull them away, and they're going to lose that position, and maybe multiple others being outside the top 10 at the moment. So they're going to be in a little bit of a hurry up, a little bit of damage to the rear wing. Maybe they got involved in whatever happened on the pace up. Unfortunately, I didn't see the initial pace up. I was actually pretty much having sleep so that I could be up for this one, but at the moment good little bit of a gap in front of him to try and stretch his legs out in front and see what he can do. As I'm having a look back at the Pure Racing team, whether they've had damage on that car or not, I'm just trying to see whether that's just my end or not, whether Hugo can confirm that. It looks like there's a little bit of damage on the left, the right-hand side of the Pure Racing team, the prototype, the leading prototype at the moment. Hugo, sorry about that, forgot to give him a car number there, the number 7. Looks like there's a little bit of damage to, I'd say, driver's side of that car. Whether you have any on your end, Lorenzo, as well. It might just be my end. Being over here in Australia really does ruin that just a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like to have a little bit of injury on the car. I think the car is holding up pretty much fine, so it might be on your end, unfortunately, Jake.
Maybe. It looks like the whole right side has been pancaked up against the wall, but that's okay. It's fine. He's out in front. And leading right now, that's Maximilian Beneke out in front. He's actually coming up to Team Chimera in front of them. Oh, I think would have just served their pit stop, which they did. Any driver change there? Nope. Simon Trindle still in that number 24 in front of them. They are currently holding down P number 5 once all the sort of pit stop cycles through. They're going to let Pure Racing Team through. Maybe even just tag in behind that car of Maximilian Beneke because he is just flying out in front. 51-second lead at the moment, back to the Thrustmaster Movano, and every time they make a pit stop cycle, Lorenzo, that gap is increasing. I think when we came in, it was about 40 seconds back to that Thrustmaster Movano. After obviously an hour and a half of us being here, he's stretched it out to nearly a minute, 51.6 seconds, and that's a great gain for them guys. They've stayed out of trouble for Pure Racing Team and been able to just keep stretching the legs and get that gap to where they want it.
Yeah, it's been really good drive, especially from both Beneke and also Patrick Wolf. But one of the things that actually got me curious is how long you've been on those cars. If I'm not mistaken, if I have to do mathematics out of the top of my head right now, I think Max has been nearly for 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. He's probably doing the 6 hours, then having another driver do the 6 hours as well, because Patrick has been also this long on the car. I don't know if that's a strategy between Pure, because they have less driver swaps than any other LMPT.
Yeah, they've only actually had one driver swap all race. Oh, so they're going to get maybe caught up a little bit by the Ford GT. They're going to get around him coming down this back straight here. He thought he may have collected the back of him there, but didn't. So Patrick Wolf obviously started that car. He actually drove to lap 70. And Maximilian Beneke, he has been in there since 70. It's coming up to lap 157 for them. So he has been in this car quite a while at the moment. Whether they have a driver swap coming up after this pit stop may be the case as he goes around the outside of that 61 car all the way out there. Doesn't want to get on the marbles because that could hurt that car. And the car is now clean on my screen, so whatever it was just a little bit of an issue on my end, but that's fine now. Maximilian Beneke is still out in front, leading the way and coming up to complete lap 11 I should say, of the stint. So maybe after this one, Lorenzo, they may driver swap it. I'm having a look through who else is in that car that's actually in this. It's only himself or Patrick Wolf, so maybe Patrick's going to jump back in that car and go again. They don't have a third driver at the moment in the server for either of them, so Lorenzo, it could be another stint for Maximilian Beneke.
It could be a long, understanding. That would be a long stint. And especially this kind of long stints, I've done it before, and it's quite taxing on the body because you need complete focus, 100% focus. And don't forget, Max done earlier today the World GT, so it's quite amazing how a sim racer of his level managed to perform such a high level in different categories and not lose the focus. That's what is most impressive to me.
Yeah, he's a very impressive driver out there right now, is Maximilian Beneke. He does, obviously, like you said, competes in that World GT Championship and does a good job in that as well. And now, obviously, jumping over to a HPD and running in this and doing such a long stint, it's taxing. I've done it as well, Lorenzo, and it can sometimes get to the point at the end where you just want to get out of that car because you've done so many laps, you've done so many hours, all you've done is just run consistent laps the entire time. You just want to get out. But right now, Maximilian Beneke, he's able to do what he needs to do out in front. Put himself in this position. Doesn't need to push the car. He knows he's increasing the gap. As I say, it's 55 seconds now back to the Thrustmaster Movano as we look back into the GT class, and there's a good battle going on. This time it is between the 63 and the 66, and I'm trying to find them online. There they are. This time coming through, coming into Tetra Rouge actually at the moment. That's the 63. And the 66 is just behind them now. So obviously a position change out there, Lorenzo, because the 66 was in front, now he's behind.
Yeah, you have to consider that they have a longer stint. The Workiva Kinetic Racing, so have been for 12 laps. So So eventually they're going to come out to the pits and do tires and maybe fuel. So it's been a really good pace, a really good stint for them. Now they are being caught by HPD in their way. I think that's from Ava Simsport. But still, good stint from the 60. Oh my god, I actually killed myself. I'm gonna kill myself. It's the 66. Good stint from him, and remains to be seen if they're gonna be able to carry this performance throughout the rest of the race.
We hope you don't kill yourself on air. Please don't. Please just do not. That's just, we love you, Lorenzo. It is fine. As the 63 and the 66 come down into the second chicane, and still a great battle going on between these two right now, out in sort of around about just outside the top 15, I reckon, in GT class. And having a look, Alexander Voss still out in front for the Duran Touring class right now, and running it down into P number 2. Lorenzo, Thrustmaster Movano, Racing GT, and Co-Ender Simsport rounding up the top 3. Having a look, we've got David Barraclough. I'm gonna butcher that one. Whether coming in for an interview, we'll need a team name on that one.
That's Torque Freak.
My team. Torque Freak.
Yeah, that's a 61.
Yeah, the 61 Torque Freak racing car. This will be good conversation. We'll bring him in right now. We'll sit down here with David Barraclough for the 61 for Torque Freak Racing. And David, it's been an interesting race so far, but your car has been the highlight ever since we've come on air, and actually as they get passed by one of the HPDs. Good battles for the 61, especially with Rodney Nunez at the wheel.
Hi guys, yeah, it's been a really great race for us so far. We're actually kind of pinching ourselves at this point with where we are on track. We started in P12, and I think there's a little bit of an offset on the strategy, but most of the time we're now running up in P6, which is kind of as high as I think we've ever been in any race before. So yeah, it's going unbelievably well, and Ronnie's absolutely killing it at the moment. So yeah, it's going brilliantly.
He's having a great drive at the moment, and especially yourself in a little bit of a battle before with Jim Racing Team. Now you guys have actually stretched the legs. Is that just something to do with the way you guys, with the strategy that you guys are playing, or is it just pure car speed that you guys have got? Because you guys have actually been, since we've been improving positions lap after lap, so sort of gaining the time that you need to put yourself in a really strong top 10 position.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a little bit of both in a way. Ronnie was able to get by Jim, must have been 3 or 4 stints ago. He basically caught them, and they had a really interesting battle side by side through Porsche curves. Not necessarily the way we want to get by, but we'll take it. And in the middle, I was in the car for a stint, and a stint or 2, and I was able to just about hold up position. But to allow Ronnie, once he was back in the car, to then stretch it back away again. And we noticed just towards the end of Ronnie's first stint, we'd managed to get a little bit of clear air. So instead of the schedule at that point was to switch back and just go with single stints, but instead we've gone to double stints and use the fresh air, and I think it's worked out well. But obviously there's quite a long way to go with this one.
Quite a long way to go is an understatement for this one, but yeah, finding yourself that clear, has that been a difficulty that you've sort of found out in this race? Obviously, once you get in that clear air, you sort of get into your own rhythm, but there's obviously a lot of cars out there on the racetrack, and getting involved in those battles that you don't need to, obviously you hurt your pace, obviously you burn your tyres up in the draft. So has that been your main goal right now, especially with Ronnie in the car at the moment, just to try and find that clear air for him so he can stretch his legs?
Yeah, like I said, that was the reason we put him back in for the double. We'll just have to see how it plays out. It is a really interesting strategic battle with the SRN car. You might notice they have quite a few more laps of fuel on us, and once they come into the pits, they'll probably be somewhere around the gym car again. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out by the end of the race. But I think it's going to be a close one. We got history racing against those guys. It's crazy. Every endurance race we seem to do, we end up being in a really close battle with that team in particular. So yeah, we're looking forward to the fight for the rest of the way.
and we're definitely looking forward to seeing how that battle unfolds. I don't know whether Lorenzo, do you have any questions for David here from Talk Freak Racing in that 61 car?
I just have one question, David. Well, you guys are in the top 15. You guys on the standings. You guys have been doing quite some good performance. As you said, you probably are in the best position. As you guys have been in the championship thus far, and we do expect you to see still in this good position you guys are in. But for next season, what has been your recap of the season thus far, and what do you expect for next season? Will you make the jump to an LMP2, an LMP1 car in the next season, if it's available, of course?
Well, this season for us has been really about stepping up. I think the Neo Endurance Series has really picked up in quality this year. I mean, you look at some of the names in the field, and you're basically at the same level as a World Championship series. So for us, it was about trying to fit in. Our first couple of races, we had some good results, but in the second half of the season, I think we've really kind of kicked on a little bit, and it's kind of led to where we are right now. I mean, if you looked at the iRatings of our team at the start of the season, I think we had one of the lowest average iRatings for every single team in the event. And to be kind of running where we are now, we're gunning for that P12 in the standings will give us pre-qualification for the next Neo Endurance Series, and I think it's a tall ask, but we're going for it. So we'll just see how that plays out. As far as the car, I couldn't give you an answer. I know a couple of guys on the team are quite keen to give the LMP1 a go. A couple of guys are probably a little bit more partial to the GTE, particularly if, let's just say, we're pretty keen to stay in the GTE, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Definitely going to have to wait and see what you guys go with for next season, but congratulations on the good run so far, and hopefully you keep that up, especially with you getting back in the car.
It's a long way to go. I mean, what are we? We're only 10 hours into the race, give or take, so we're not even halfway yet. So we'll just have to wait and see how the second half goes. Yeah.
Good luck for the second half, though, David, and hopefully you can have a good couple of stints. Thank you, David Baraclow. I think I got that one right. I butchered all the names tonight.
This has never actually come up, and the amusing thing is it's actually Baraclough. I don't know if anyone in the UK listening to the broadcast has ever seen the TV comedy Porridge. There is actually a Baraclough in that series, but it's not too bad. I don't mind either way. So.
Well, there you go. I've learnt something new every day. David, thank you for that one. As you go and help back Ronnie Nunez in that 61 car back out there, currently sitting inside that top 10. And just coming up to complete lap 8 on that sin as we look back. SRN Motorsports Orange, the car in front of him that David Baraclough was actually talking about, has just come in to pit lane in that 75 machine, that's Stephen McGarvey. So he's going to drop in, like David said, roughly around Jim Racing Team Lorenzo. And I think this could be a little bit closer than we think, as we're actually going to have a look at another battle on the racetrack. That's actually the 13 Virtual Motorsport HPD with the MSP Phoenix Racing HPD just behind him. That's Patrick Schneider closing down that gap as well. He gained 2 seconds last time round.
Gained last second last time around, and one of the things we have to be concerned about over here is that the leader is coming closely to them, but cancel that. They're going for the pit stop, the MSP team.
Heck, going for the pit stop goes MSP Phoenix, and I think that's just the phase of our race today that we've had to commentate on. Everyone comes down the pit lane, but behind them, that's a bundle of HPDs. I don't think any of them are actually for position, and as I say that, that's the leading two. That is Trustmaster Movado Racing, obviously on alternate strategies, but Pure Racing Team right behind them. So Marcus Hamilton, that's actually one of the HPDs, moves over. Maximilian Benique right now in P number 2, and this is a battle for the overall race lead. Alternate strategies sort of putting him in this position. They would have roughly a 50-second lead, does Pure Racing Team, but at this point in stage, you don't know whether this could be actually for the battle for the lead, Lorenzo, and that 50 seconds could just be an alternate strategy.
Yeah, it could be an alternate strategy right now. The Pure Racing team has a little bit of a gap advantage because they have early stints. They have an early stint. They barely pitted. They pitted 1 lap ago, so they have probably newer, fresher tires, despite having a heavier car. But still, Maximilian Benecke is doing a fantastic job and just closing the gap ever so slightly, putting the pressure on Marcus Hamilton. Need to see if the Trustmaster Mivano driver will fold into that pressure. Now they're actually lapping a GT car over here. But applying the pressure, Benecke, it's just a matter of when and where.
Yeah, when and where is he going to make this move, or is he just going to play it patient? I think Maximilian Benecke may play the patient card, but you don't want to sit behind him for so long. You just come out of the pits, you just service another stop, and he's still in the car, which we completely forgot. He's still in this car somehow. Maximilian Benecke is still just charging on. I'm having a look whether no one else is in there. He's done 92 laps at the moment here at Le Mans, and that is insane sort of a stint to get himself started for today. Let's see whether he does anything. Coming out of the Mulsanne corner, coming down this back straight, heading towards Indianapolis. He might have a look, he might not, he might just sit in behind of that Thrustmaster Movano racing car. Marcus Hamilton out in front, and I think this could just be the phase of the race, Lorenzo, where we just see Maximilian Benecke's strength and his mental, how good mentally he is, because he's come to this sort of part of the stint. Now he's got to get into a battle. Now let's see how he handles it.
Yeah, we got to see how it will be handled. Will he handle the battle with Marcus Hamilton as they are overtaking a GT car from Beneval Sim Racing? Actually, Maximilian getting the worst end of it, even though he just lost like a tenth and a half of a second to Marcus. But we are going to see now the mental fortitude and the racecraft from Maximilian to see where he's going to make the move, how patient is he going to play, and where he will put the car into overtaking position against the Trustmaster Mivano car.
Yeah, where is he going to put this car to make this move? And I think actually he's lost a couple of tenths. It's like 3 tenths, I think, has gone the way to Thrustmaster Movano. That could have obviously come just then passing that GT car that they had to get around. But Maximilian Benecke is going to come close down the gap. Looks like this car is super strong through the tight twisty stuff. I think definitely through the final 4 chicane, that car is a lot stronger. He gained a tenth just there alone on Marcus Hamilton, and they completed another lap. 3:33.7 from the leader Marcus Hamilton. Maximilian Benecke 34.0, so only 2 tenths went away at that Thrustmaster Movano, but through the first chicane, up over Dunlop curb to underneath the Dunlop bridge, they come down into the S's, and Benecke, he is still there. He's just going to hound the back of that Thrustmaster Movano car, Lorenzo, and if he keeps doing this, he could force him into a mistake. But Hamilton is a good driver behind the wheel of that HPD. I don't think he'll make many mistakes, especially he's been in the car for, I think he's only been in the car for a handful of stints at the moment, so he's still pretty fresh in that car. I think he should be able to handle the pressure.
Yeah, he will definitely be able to handle the pressure. Both are world-class licensed drivers, so they know, they are the top tier of iRacing. They know what to do in moments like these, when the pressure comes on and you need to keep your cool and your mental fortitude and strength to be able to just hammer down the throttle and keep the car stable, as Marcus is being able to do it. Actually, he's being able to hold out Maximilian Benecke into that half a second gap, and Maximilian is actually working the car. You can see the inputs of Maximilian's car. He's working on it, but Marcus is having none of it. He's giving no room. He's just saying to Maximilian, if you want it, you're gonna have to earn it. I don't care how much time you're going to lose. You're gonna have to earn it against me, boy.
Pretty much. He's just throwing the gauntlet down there. He's going to have to work to get this position done, especially after a pit stop cycle. Now it's Marcus Hamilton slowly eking away but under brakes. Maximilian Beneke right there just closed the gap up. So if he wants to, he can make it work. I think right now they're coming up to a GT car as well, so they're going to have to try and get around that. That is actually one of the Sim RC cars. These are going to go to the inside and the outside, I should say, for Maximilian Beneke. He's worked his way around that Ferrari and just slowly doesn't have enough to reel in the gap. He's slowly bringing it in, but just not close enough. 3/10 coming into Indianapolis. Beneke hard on the brakes, going to look to try and close this gap up. Lorenzo a little bit wider there for that Thrustmaster Movano HPD, and definitely it's on for these two. But whether Beneke does anything about it, I reckon he's just going to sit in behind Lorenzo. I don't think there is any need for him to make this move. He knows he's got them on the other strategy, if that is the case of where they are out in the racetrack. 51 seconds or 55 seconds he had before he had to pit. And that's sort of, I think, the strategy that they're sort of playing at. But when you think of it, the Thrustmaster Movano car, they're on lap 7 of the stint, so they're halfway through. This could actually be the battle that they need to try and get in front of at the point, but you never know, and that's the hardest thing about endurance racing. You can be 50 seconds ahead at one point. Now you know, obviously, a second separates them coming up to the final 4 chicane. Don't know what sort of strategy they're on or what you're on that's actually going to be the winning strategy. You could be out by half a tank, you know what I mean? You gotta try and push every single time. I think that's what Beneke needs to do right now. Just try and push to keep applying the pressure half a second across the line, and Lorenzo, I think that's what he's going to keep doing, just sitting half a second back and just applying pressure.
Not just applying pressure, just applying the pace, and wait for a mistake. Ooh, very inside dive bomb. It might lose a little bit of time. It remains to be seen. I think it doesn't. But it remains to be seen if Max is going for a move like that. If I'm not mistaken, both are very on equal strategy, going for 12-ish, 13-ish lap stints, which is basically running on full boost. You can get like 16 laps or something like that if you go into lower boost to save more fuel. So they're just going hard at it, and Maximilian with the 4th lap advantage, so he just needs to work on placing the car in the right positions and not lose a lot of time to the Thrustmaster Movano racing car.
Yeah, it doesn't need to try and lose any time, especially through these chicanes at the moment on the back straight on the Mulsanne. And having a look actually at their time, so last time round, pretty much identical lap times, 33.2 for both of them. Their fastest laps have been a 31.3 for Maximilian Beneke and a 31.4 for Marcus Hamilton car. I think that would have been Beneke that set the 31.3 unless Patrick Wolf did it early on in the race. No, it was Maximilian Beneke, and I think who was actually the one that set the fastest lap in the Thrustmaster Movano car. It was Tommaso Carla was actually the one that set that lap time. So Hamilton maybe on a little bit of the back foot, but he's a star driver. He'll be able to sort this one out as we come up to end lap, I should say lap number 164, halfway through that. But 10 hours will be logged in the books. We'll run through the order before we maybe get a fan immersion. I'm going to ask you about that, but through the top 10 right now, Thrustmaster Movano overall leading the prototype class in the HPD. Out in front, Marcus Hamilton. Maximilian Beneke, the battle that we've been watching, he is sitting in P2, only separated by half a second. The 34 Thrustmaster Movano Racing HPD running in P3. Radicals Online coming home in P number 4 at the moment. Team Chimera in P5 with Virtual Motorsport rounding out the top 6 and the cars on the lead lap. Simitok coming home in 7th at the moment. MSP Phoenix Racing in P number 8. IRDK Endurance and Tio Martin Esports rounding out the top 10. Now the top 10 for the GT, the Great Touring class at the moment. Heisenfeld Core Motorsports has been in front since we've joined, and they are still out in front in that 55 Ferrari. The 69 Thrustmaster Movano GT coming home in P number 2 at the moment with VRS Commander SimSport Championship leader sitting in P number 3 with Pure Racing Team GTE now in P4. Kawenda Sim Sport, the other car, the sister car to the championship leader, coming home in P number 5 with Talk Freak Racing, who we spoke to, David Barakoff, before. They are now in P number 6. SRM Motorsports in 7th with that battle with Jim Racing Team. They mentioned it, it's back on. That's for 7th and 8th. Pure Racing Team GTE Red rounding out P number 9 with Shinya Michimi Sim Racing rounding out the top 10 with T. Heisenfeld just on the outside looking in. That is the positions at the moment. We're going to go with a fan immersion right now on board here with the Pure Racing team. So we're going to go for a quick little break and then we'll be back after this. Welcome back to iRacing Live and RaceSport TV here for the Neo Endurance Series. That was a fan immersion, riding on board with Maximilian Beneke, running in P number 2 in the prototype class here for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And behind that, Thrustmaster Movado Racing prototype of Marcus Hamilton, Lorenzo. These guys have been going at it. They're now just going into the 32s for these guys out in front. So a little bit of a pace pick up there for Hamilton. I think he realized that Beneke was not going to go away and was going to not put up without a fight. And Hamilton's just turned it up just a little bit, dipped into the 32s to try and keep pushing on to try and open out that gap.
Yeah, keep it on, keep pushing it on. That's the message that Marcus needs to have in his mind the entire time right now. Every battle that he does right now with Max, even though it might be a very early battle with Max as Max overtakes GTE car at the end of the first chicane. It's important because you might do some damage in timing to Max Beneke and the Pure Racing team LMP down the stretch. Their gap before the pit stop was around 51 seconds. I don't know how it's going to stick it out once the Trustmaster Movano team pit stops and then Pure Racing pit stops. It's going to be quite interesting if the gap is going to have a surge or not. It's still early, but right now I think this is a very deciding factor into the following hours of this race.
Yeah, as it just passed over the 10-hour mark, actually 4 minutes past that 10-hour mark for these guys out in front. So slowly working down our way to the halfway stage of this one. We'll actually be with you for that entire way through to the halfway stage in this one. Having a look back now at a battle that was starting to form up. Jim Racing Team did have the SRM Motorsports orange car in front of them. They've now dropped backs, and now it's Jim Racing Team versus the Pure Racing Team GTE red car right now. That's Mark Eckelman behind them, and it's just been a crazy race with the Jim Racing Team. They've been in multiple battles. The SRM Motorsports orange, whether they made a mistake, Dean Mole at the wheel of that car at the moment. They've actually got a HPD trying to work their way through this, but this could be a good battle. Just having a look at that. Another one behind SRM Motorsports. No, it's not. That's actually a car on an alternate lap. I think that's one of the Team Heisenfeld cars, it looks like, behind them as well. But this battle's starting to heat up, Lorenzo, between the 96 and the 72.
Yeah, the 96 and 72 going hard at it. The 72 is actually making a little bit of a recovery after some very below average for Pure Racing team wise, of course, below average stints, but they're now making the recovery and putting the applying pace they wanted to have. They're starting to gain a little bit of time. Now the gap is really close between Mikko Mikla and Mark Eckelman. So Mark needs to make a move either here or in Indianapolis, because if they lose a lot of time battling, SRN is coming from behind. Even though the gap is actually increasing a little bit, it could actually become a three-way fight instead of a two-way fight.
I think Jim Racing Team just wants to have a fight for the entire way during our portion of the broadcast at the moment, but Jim Racing Team, that 96, having a good drive at the moment. Lost the ground, obviously, the Torque Freak Racing, who was in a good little battle with their owners, actually just having a look in front. They nearly collide with a lap car, lap GTE, but behind the SRM Motorsports cars actually going to be getting passed by one of the Heisenfeld. It looks like it's a core Heisenfeld car, obviously. Could actually be one of the other one. I don't know which one that is.
That's the leader. That's the
that is the leader. That's Alexander Voss. Yeah. Sorry about that. That's actually Alexander Voss trying to work his way through this field as well. So he's just passed the SRN Motorsports orange as actually one of the Thrustmaster Movano HPDs. That's the number 34 comes through as well. So a whole bunch of leaders in amongst this one. A whole bunch of guys trying to fight for position, as well as the Pure Racing Team GTE. Mark Eckelman still close to that Jim Racing Team forward in front of him, but not able to do anything this time. A little bit of damage on that left front of that Pure Racing Team Ferrari that might hurt him a little bit through these portrait curves, but everywhere else it looks like he's able to gain time.
Like every turn to the right side is going to be a little bit complicated to the Pure Team Red, so they need to be conscious of not losing a lot of time into left side turns. Make sure just a little bit of a correction, but they're gaining a little bit of time. But their stint is very late stint. They probably have 3 or 2 more laps inside their car, so just play it safe, work the pace around, and work on the next stint and see if you can gain that time.
You try and gain positions as well, because they're currently, like we were talking about before, with the Torque Freak Racing, David Barraclough, he actually mentioned that the top 12 get locked in to next season Neo Endurance Series, which will most probably be even more exciting than the season that we are having right now. And Pure Racing Team, they are sitting in P number 24 out there, and they are a long way behind on points.
Jake, I think something has happened to the Trustmaster Movano 69. He's out of it. Something has happened. Something has happened. You're on the pit stop.
Looks like they're just having a pit stop cycle. Actually, yeah. Did they run out of fuel?
Could be. They were
Yes,
on
big mistake. It is. They ran out of fuel. They didn't make it through the Porsche curves that they had to tow. That is a massive mistake from Thrustmaster Movano Racing GTE. They were running in P number 2, and it looks like they've just run out of fuel. There was nothing there, and that was it. It was day done. Had to pull it over. Nothing there. It fuel surged. Couldn't make it back to the pit lane from P number 2, and maybe even a potential victory has just gone begging, because that's a tow, and that's going to cost them a fair bit of time. They're going to drop outside the top 5 easily now.
They're gonna drop the outside of the top 5 in the standings. That could be more damageful to them. Like, if we are to look at the standings now, they are 11th. Their car is in 11th place with 41 points. Jim Racing Team is still in it. SRN is still in it. Torn Motorsports, we still have to look, but I'm not sure if they are in it. But those 2 teams alone, they could take them out of the standings, and they could be in pre-qualification status, be pre-qualified in Trustmaster not.
Yeah, and especially when you look, so SRM Motorsports will jump them, like you said, Jim Racing Team, and then in 15th, only 2 points behind that Torrent Motorsports car, is actually the Talk Freak Racing number 61. So that's a big mistake there from Thrustmaster Movano Racing. Someone made a little bit of an error there in terms of the calculations, because that has thrown them massively out of this one, as actually Jim Racing Team is back under pressure from Pure Racing Team GTE coming into Indianapolis. I thought they were going to have a move mark behind in the 72. Had a look, thought better of it in the Ferrari. They're going to sit in behind again, but as Thrustmaster Movano just continues to drop down through the list, they've actually dropped behind the Duke and the SimSports. They'll actually get passed this time by all these cars, especially Jim Racing Team. It's a big shock, Lorenzo. It's one of those things that maybe you're trying to push for that extra lap, but sometimes it's just not worth it, because now you're losing so much more than what you would have gained.
Now, it's the high risk, high reward talk we had earlier. Like, you can stretch out and work a different line. You can do that. You can do all these things, but just like the reward can come, the bad side can come too. This has what happened to the Trust Movano team. They're gonna lose a little bit of time right now. Their spot in the top 12 might be in danger as the Pure Racing Team GTE Red comes into the pits to do their pit stop.
Yeah, coming down, that's 14 laps for them, as well as Talk Freak Racing in front of them. The 61s come down onto pit raiders. David Barakloff, he's going to jump back on board that one. I can't butcher this name right, because he told me how to say it.
You said it right.
He's come down in on to pit lane to get his Pure Racing Team GTE Red as well. And just having a look, Thrustmaster Movano has rejoined out on the racetrack, so they've lost some time. They're on the back straight. They've actually only dropped to 5th. It's bad, but it could be a lot worse. They're still in front of Jim Racing Team, but being on board Anders Dahl at the moment, he's got to be frustrated with himself. Not just going that extra too far. I should have just put it in 1 lap earlier, and now he's got a lot more work ahead of him to try and do, especially when you're running in a comfortable P number 2 like they were.
Yeah, like it damaged them enough for this race. It puts them back 1 lap compared to the Heiskeveld, the Motorsports team, so they are a lap behind right now. They could be still into this top 5 and make the pre-qualification, but absolutely in Stefan Muslar's thoughts, he's not going to be satisfied by it. But now he's going to have all the time to take a rest, cool down. That's a normal mistake. We say like it's impressive because they're top drivers and we don't expect them to do that, but every driver, we have to remind, they're drivers, they're human, everybody makes mistakes. So it's a human mistakes. I've done it, a lot of people have done it, so they can actually make it back if they just work out the issues and the timing piece by piece, as in Dahl right now takes the car.
Yeah, definitely can sort something out there. They will bounce back, they will rebound. There's still a long way to go, still 13 and 3/4 hours left to go, but just having a look back at this lead battle, they've short pitted. Pure Racing Team had, I think they were 4 laps earlier on pit stop cycle than Thrustmaster Bavano. They've actually short pitted. Patrick Wolf is now on board that HPD. So they short pitted, came in, and going to try an undercut strategy. I don't know whether it's going to work, but this undercut strategy might be able to leapfrog them in front of Thrustmaster Bavano when they do come in. They're on 12 laps on their stint right now is Marcus Hamilton. It could be a good little strategy change there from Pure Racing Team, Lorenzo. It obviously puts them a little bit of an alternate strategy because obviously Maximilian Beneke didn't run out that entire stint, but it could just bring them into a gap where they're just going to be in front that little bit more when Thrustmaster Bavano come in.
Yeah, it could work. It could work out in the end for Thrustmaster, for a Pure Racing Team. Apologies. It could work down for them. This early pit now is going to. It remains to be seen. Patrick's pace from now on compared to Marcus. If Marcus stays in the car when he comes into his service pit. It also remains to be seen how long the Thrustmaster Bavano LMP is going to stay on. We've seen like stints from 12 to 14 laps, so it depends on how much boost on the car he's putting. So now it is all eyes on the Thrustmaster Bavano 33 car.
Yeah, now it's to see what's going to happen with that 33 car on Marcus Hamilton when he comes down pit road. How much time is he going to lose the Pure Racing Team? Where is he going to come out compared to them? He's actually got a Coanda Sport Ferrari in front of him. That's actually the 88, who's running only a couple of seconds behind his teammate out there at the moment. And as I'm having a look now, the Thrustmaster Bavano Racing GTE has actually come down pit lane again. Whether this was just for a service or not, it's all going from bad to worse. And there goes Jim Racing Team past them on the front straight, so I think that's going to be a position change for them as well. So that's going to put them back with SRN Motorsports Orange, who is just going to be coming into the shot through turn number 1 too. So it's just bringing these guys further back through the field. So another error, whether they didn't put any fuel or any tires on the car, because he's come back down straight away and got a service. So it's just going from bad to worse, Lorenzo, for this Thrustmaster Bavano team. They just can't get a grip. Once they had that mistake, it's all tumbling down out of hill. Yeah,
if we are to call it, it's the worst case scenario for a sim racing team. Have a plethora, not a plethora, but a sequence of mistakes that cost them quite some time and position. So that's what's happening to them. It's important that they just put their heads down and just focus on the race and don't even think about mistakes. Just do your race, do like you really want to do, just impose it and still have the time. You still have more than 12 hours. Less than 12 hours, but you still have a long race to go into the last round.
Yeah, they still have a long way to go, and they should be able to sort themselves out when they get to that sort of a stage of the run to see where they're going to fall. But right now, Jim Racing Team is roughly 2.8 seconds in front of them. They've just let Heisenberg Cool Motorsports go past, and SRN Motorsports Orange, they're around about 3.7 seconds behind them. So they're in a little bit of a hole at the moment, but they'll be digging themselves out now every lap. Back out in front though, Thrustmaster Bavano in the pit lane, and Pure Racing Team LMP just having a look where they are on the racetrack. They are actually coming through the Porsche curve. So here we go, Lorenzo. Marcus Hamilton stays in the car. Patrick Wolf, we'll see what he times does, because this will be his first flying lap right now out there. But here comes Thrustmaster Bavano out of pit lane. They are pretty much the shortest exit, and they are already gone. So that undercut did not work for them, Lorenzo, because they're pretty much the length of the straight behind. So Pure Racing Team got some work to do now to try and make that one up.
They're going to have quite some work to get close once again to that gap to the Thrustmaster Bavano team. And that was a quick pit stop from Marcus, so he might only have put fuel into his car, feeling comfy with the tires itself, not having wasted a lot of rubber of it. So just putting fuel and going out 22 seconds of pit stop compared to the 33 on the Pure Racing team.
Yeah, so shorter pit stop there from Trustmaster Nirvana, and that's just playing strategy. It's all the strategy games at the moment, and Trustmaster Nirvana, I think that's a good call. Maybe obviously no driver swap, so they didn't have to spend that time in there as well for that, and it just keeps them ahead of Pure Racing Team. Keeps Pure on their toes as well, because now they've got to try and think of something as they're trying to work their way around an MSP Phoenix Ford down the Mulsanne. That could have been a little bit dangerous there for those two. As Pure Racing Team, they got the job done. Patrick Wolf figured out where he wanted to go, but it's always the difficult thing, and it makes GT racing and endurance racing, multi-class racing just that little bit more intense. You come up to a slower car, if they don't hold their line, they may be thinking, oh, I'll go to the inside to let him through, and then obviously Pure Racing Team wants to go that way. It becomes a little bit of a shamble, but that time they all able to sort themselves out. Pure Racing Team able to get past. As we're looking back through the GT field, just having a look at that battle back with Jim Racing Team now and Trustmaster Movano, who have closed the gap down. Lorenzo, it's within 0.6 of a second.
It was 0.6 of a second now. 1.4 seconds between the Jim Racing Team and Trustmaster Movano GTE, the 69. And Anders just putting the hammer down like now 0.5 of a second. He just needs a good entry and exit out of Tete Rouge in order to close out that gap. The gap is now 0.6 of a second, so he's gonna close out to 0.3, maybe 0.2, but he's not gonna make the move on the first one. Maybe if he keeps it clean, Indianapolis is the way to go.
I think Indianapolis may be the way to go here for that Trustmaster Movano Ferrari. He's sitting right in behind that Jim Racing Team Ford, trying to get as much draft as he can, trying to get the slipstream, trying to get that toe to pull himself ever closer through the first chicane. He gets a good exit, and that's what he needs to do now. Anders Dahl going to maybe look to the inside or the outside. Which way is he going to go? Which way is Jim Racing Team going to go? And he'll go the opposite. Let's see what he does. He's definitely within 0.2 now of that Ford in front of him. Whether he's going to pull out to the left this time, he does so. Here he goes. He's going to make that move, and whether he just slipstreams his way past and uses his power of that Ferrari, but the Ford, the Jim Racing Team, is going to sit there, going to try and stay there. Nope, shuts the door through the middle of the chicane, and that is going to be up a position for Anders Dahl. So already on the clawback, that's going to move himself back into P number 5. But now Ford GT of Jim Racing Team in the tow, might be able to have a little bit of a counterback.
Yeah, let's see if he's going to make the move. Oh, he's going to make the move on the inside of the end of Mulsanne. Late braking, here we go.
He's on the inside, got the job done. Good hard battle between these two. This is for P number 5 in the Grand Touring class, and now it's reverse switch coming to Indianapolis, and now Anders Dahl has got the toe in the draft. Might be able to do something with this one as well. He's going to look to that inside. He gets there, he moves it to the inside. Now they're going to run side by side down this back straight, and I think we should be able to get him clear coming into Indianapolis. Going to be in front of it before the corner, shuts the door. That was aggressive. He could have easily turned himself there, Lorenzo, but he knew what he was doing. Anders Dahl shut the door on the Ford, and now he's going to try and stretch his legs.
Yeah, shut the door, lock keys. He didn't even put some more locks on it to be quite safe on that maneuver. Usually that maneuver might not stick it out because the car's going really quick, and aero effect, especially dirty aero, you can often throw your car quite in a hurry into the wall. You can really even see it. But a really good move from Anders Dahl. Here comes the GT, very nimble on the curves. Really good work from Mikko Melkila into this Porsche curves.
Try and see what he can do on the exit of these Porsche curves to maybe close down that gap. But Trustmaster Movano, Anders Dahl already starting to pull away. A couple of tenths this lap already after he got around him. So good move, good hard battle, good racing from both of them. And I think Anders is just a little bit annoyed that the mistakes he's made, obviously with the fuel strategy and that going away, obviously running in seconds. And now he's just got the hammer down and he's just trying to get as much as he can. They both ran a little bit wide, pushing hard there, but still another couple of tenths, 7 tenths of a second now with Rasmus and Movano, and I think that gap is just going to continue to stretch in this phase of the run. Behind them is that SRN Motorsports Orange, who sort of dropped a little bit away right now. They're running roughly 7 seconds behind both of them. As a Pure Racing team having a look through, as actually Talk Freaks got a car on their outside. That's just a HPD as I was looking through the field, and they've actually dropped off that Pure Racing team GTE as well. But back out in front, just updating that gap for the race lead. It's 9.6 seconds out there, Lorenzo, and Rasmus and Movano, they're holding their own. A 34-second lap time from Patrick Wolf. Obviously, he hasn't been in the car since the start of the race, so the track conditions is going to be completely different to what he was used to early on. So he's just trying to adjust and trying to get back into that rhythm that he was before. But Patrick Wolf has got a lot of time to make up if he wants to get back to the back of Marcus Hamilton.
Yeah, 10 seconds over here sounds like an eternity, and especially with a hot track like this one. It's 40 degrees. Even though with the whole rubber covering the tracks, covering the curves, you need to manage to not overdrive the car and make more heat into the tires. It can be dangerous because you might not be able to recover the rubber that you lost, and you might lose a little bit of time. Split second here and there. So that's what Patrick needs to be mindful right now. He needs to laps every single time. He needs to put single laps and avoid making mistakes that normally a guy with a hurry to make up time would do.
Yeah, so what he does across the stripe this time. 34.0 from the Rasmus Movano car, 33.4 from Patrick Wolf. So he's putting the hammer down. 9 seconds over the stripe was the gap between first and second. So now he's trying to see whether he can make up that time that they have sort of lost in terms of just strategies, trying to undercut, trying to try something different right now out there on the racetrack for those guys, and having a look back to the lead of the GT class as well. At the moment, it's still Heisenberg Core Motorsports. They are out in front, and after obviously that mistake from the Rasmus Movano car, the Coanda SimSport car is running in P number 2. It's a good game for them, the 81 car, but he's a fair way behind. He's nearly 2 minutes behind the race lead.
Yeah, 2 minutes behind, and right now, if they want to make up that time, they need to work on better pace overall, and basically one more lap strategy, basically on driving your opponent. But in GT cars, it's quite of a hard job for you to do that. So how he will pull it off, that's the question that he needs to be thinking right now if he wants to have a chance in having a battle for the victory.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, it was 2 minutes, actually 1 minute and 17 seconds. These are all my timing updates on my end. So a bit of a gap that they've got to make up. Pure Racing Team GTE running in P number 3 at the moment. They're 22 seconds behind that Coanda SimSports car. So there's a bit of a gap. And he's in a little bit of a gaggle of cars as well, which I think he would just rather not be amongst at the moment. So 22 seconds behind that Coanda SimSport car. The sister car is roughly 45 seconds behind them. But Rasmus Movano now in P number 5. They're actually just starting to ever so creep away. And as I say that, Jim Racing Team in pit lane for their service now, Lorenzo. And let's see where this puts them, because wherever they come out, they're going to be in a battle.
Yeah, they're going to be in a battle most likely. And once again, they're going to be in the highlights. That is always good to be right now, right? So let's see, if I am not mistaken, they're probably going to be around the Torque Freak Racing Team in a battle with them. And right now, David Barraclough is on a 3-lap stint. I got the naming right, yes. So he's on a 3-lap stint, so the gap will not be very big between one another. So he's just work the corners and put the car clean.
Just having a look, Jim Racing Team actually leaving pit lane. I think Torque Freak might actually get them on this pit window cycle, as Gym Racing Team sitting there on the pit limiter. I think Tall Freak going to go straight past them. They might actually be in a battle with Pure Racing Team GTE Red, who was the next car in line. So gain of position there. This one's actually going to be a little bit tighter as Pure Racing Team down the inside into turn number 2 and gets that one done. But the fresh pit stop, fresh set of legs, get a little bit of a stretch for Gym Racing Team. And now let's see what Mikko Mikilia can do. Running behind that Pure Racing Team GTE red car of Mark Eckelman. Down this back straight, he may be able to do something with it. Obviously, a little bit of front end damage to that Ferrari will be hurting him in the draft or by himself. So that aero wash that he's going to get from that front will definitely hurt him. Maybe even open the door for Gym Racing Team to make him move Lorenzo, but he's not close enough. You need to be within roughly that 0.3 of a second coming off of that Tetra Rouge to be able to do something with it. And at the moment, just not close enough this time to do anything about it, Lorenzo.
Yeah, he's not closing the gap. He could have gone. I don't think he's going full throttle, or if the full throttle is not being able to close out that gap, but still, putting the car close is just a matter of time. The man is hungry. Mikko is hungry, so he's going to make a move eventually. He wants that move. He wants to close the gap also to David Barakoff and the Torque Freak Racing Team. So he needs just to work out the corners and work out the pace because the car has been really good. He's performing really well.
Yeah, that Gym Racing Team car has been performing well. They've been solidly inside the top 10 since we've been here and watching him running in that 6th position, sort of the first Ford in the field, and right now trying to see what they can get past the Pure Racing Team red Ferrari, and Mark Eckelman really holding down that position at the moment. Can't do anything about it, especially even down on these straights. Just can't get enough slipstream and toe to be able to do anything with it. And whether he's going to pull out here coming into Indianapolis, I think he had a little look, thought about it, but not able to do anything with it this time. Maybe lined himself up, no, sorry, into Indianapolis, into Mulsanne. Now he's going to line himself up into Indianapolis. We'll get there. They're all long straights and they all have red bits alongside them, so I always get confused. But here we go, coming down now into Indianapolis. Let's see whether Mikko Mikilia is going to look to the inside. He looks there now. Going to go side by side with the Ferrari of Pure Racing Team GTE of Mark Eckelman, and I think Eckelman's going to roll out of that one. Good, smart driving there from the Pure Racing Team driver, just to realise that it's not on. He's just come out of pit lane. You're on 5 laps into your stint. Let him go and just try and maybe tag along and let him bring you with him.
Yeah, work the draft, work the pace, and who knows, maybe even get close to David Barakoff. The gap is 5.3 seconds, and close slightly as it goes up and down depending on how you do. Well, the Porsche curves might even go down a little bit more, to still work out the gap, work out, make sure you guys work out and don't lose a lot of time, and who knows, you can have a 3-way battle, get something interesting down the line.
Yeah, maybe be able to gain that position as well, depending on how this strategy unfolds. Just got an update on the front as well. Patrick Wolf, another second on the way of that Pure Racing Team LMP HPD car, now running pretty much 8 seconds behind the race. They're actually looking at it live. It's 5.8 seconds. So this lap from Patrick Wolf is a flyer. Whether Trustmaster Movano of Marcus Hamilton's got caught up. He's got a little bit of traffic now. That's one of the 4 GTE cars, so that's going to actually hurt him there. I think that's actually one of the sister car to the SRN Motorsports Orange, unless that is SRN Motorsports Orange. No, it's a sister car that he just had to overtake then coming through, and then he's got the VRS Coanda SimSport car as well. He's going to go to the inside of him there, coming down into turn number 1. But the gap across the stripe is 5 seconds, Lorenzo. He came out 10 seconds behind him. He's cut that in half already, a 32.38 from Patrick Wolf. He's just getting started.
He's just getting started. And you can see he's doing corners in an aggressive way, like he's going for it. He's not even caring if he can just slow down or something. That's what it sounds like. He's just going completely mad over the curse, and apparently he did get a slow down. A little slight slowdown for Patrick Wolf that is going to damage a little bit the Pure Racing Team as he goes into traffic as we speak.
Yeah, now the gap out to 6 seconds, so pushing as hard as he can to try and close that gap down, but I'm sure he'll be able to get it done. He's talent as well, and a lot of these guys are. A lot of them are obviously running in Pro Series or the GT Series or F1s or anything else that they're going to be running in. Now with all the new World Series out there as well, these guys are pretty talented when it comes to endurance racing, especially in the GT class. And now Patrick Wolf closing up behind the Coanda Sim Sports car, may try and benefit from the tow to get himself past that Ferrari. And then he's got two HPDs, and so this is the hard part, just trying to get past these HPDs right now, Lorenzo, because they're going to obviously be the same pace. It's the Acme Racing car, who's down in P number 18 at the moment, is the first one on his list. Then the BAM Thrustmaster car as well, who has a little wiggle out of the second chicane. So now Patrick Wolf's going to try and set his sights up, hope that he can catch these guys on a straight and not lose any time.
Yeah, and furthermore, if you can catch him on the straight, that is actually good for Patrick, because he can work the draft a little bit and move a tenth or maybe 2/10 of a second forward to your opponent, as he's already cutting time on Marcus Hamilton. The gap is now nearly 5.5 seconds.
Yeah, so even after that slowdown, he's starting to reel it back in again. So Patrick Wolf, I think within a couple of laps of this stint, obviously he's going to come up to complete lap 7 of his stint. Thrustmaster Movano racing Marcus Hamilton at the moment, he will come up to complete lap 5 of his. So I definitely think when these guys come towards the end of their stint, they're going to be nose to tail, and then it's going to come back down to pit stop strategy once again. And whether someone can do anything about those two, who knows. But in front of them, actually, they're going to close down on Mark Eckelman. That's actually just in front of the Thrustmaster Movano, as I was actually looking for those guys on track to figure out how close that battle is. But Mikko Makilia, he's actually started to pull away as a Pure Racing Team GTE lets that Thrustmaster Movano HBD through the race leading car, and you're going to see that Marcus Hamilton going through these S's. He's going to catch that Jim Racing Team Ford, and I don't think he's going to go around the outside, but obviously that's going to hurt his entry into the left. He had to slow down a little bit more than what he wanted, and again, this is just burning time that he just gained, especially with that slowdown from the Pure Racing Team of Patrick Wolf, Lorenzo, because now he's got to do it all over again, because Patrick Wolf, Lorenzo, has actually closed that gap back down to what he had coming in.
Yeah, basically, he even lowered further the gap. The gap was around 4.7 seconds when he had that slowdown. So now it's around 4.1 second. And actually, Patrick has a little bit of an upper hand of sorts, because he's going to grab in a position of acceleration. He's not going to lose a lot of time compared to what his opponent had lost. But now you can see he actually lost a second. No, that's not a good thing. He did slow down his car.
He's stuck right now, I think. He's just trying to line him up. He's going to line up his teammate right now to the inside, and they're not going to fight them at all. So he's lost about a couple of tenths now, 4.6, coming down onto the Mulsanne. He's got that Ford GT in front of him. I think he'll be aiming to catch the Jim Racing Team Ford maybe after the straight. After the first chicane, sorry. I don't think you want to get him into the chicane, but he's going to get close. He might be able to try and get him before the chicane. That he's going to do. He's going to move to the inside. He's going to have to get the position done. He does, moves over. So that's going to clear that car. Now, there's another two. The HBD that's still in front of him is still there, plus another Ford. That's a Torque Freak car. So we're talking about how close they may be coming to that Torque Freak car. The two behind. David Barakoff has now got a couple of other cars behind him. Jim Racing Team and Pure Racing Team GT. They might be getting in a battle sooner rather than later. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, as Patrick Wolf to the inside of that HPD that was there. That was the BAM Thrustmaster car, and now he has some clear air to try and set his sights in the gap. 4.5 seconds, Lorenzo. But with the pace that he was running before all that traffic, he should be able to close that one down.
Yeah, he's going to close that one down really quickly, maybe a half a second between each lap, because Patrick is basically flying within the limit of his car on the track. He's braking late, he's going very aggressively on turns, so he's closing the gap, he's doing it. And further back, you talk about Torque Freak, that as you said, that battle is going to happen. It is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because right now the gap is closing curve by curve right now.
Yeah, that gap is coming down 1.2 seconds, separates David Barraclough to behind him. That is the Jim Racing team of Nico McKillier. So that gap is coming down, and we thought that maybe Jim Racing team might be able to close in on Torque Freak, but they did so a lot quicker than I thought, so maybe a little bit of a mistake from Torque Freak, but behind as well, Pure Racing team, they're going to come as well, so it could be a three-way scrap here, and this is pretty much for just outside of the top 5. SRN Motorsports is currently in P6, this is for 7. It is Torque Freak at the moment with Jim Racing team in P number 8, and obviously Pure Racing team just behind them in 9, so let's see what Miko McKillier can do. He's 4-lap older tyres. Torque Freak and Pure Racing team came down at the same time, so you think Jim Racing team right now, Lorenzo, would have the upper hand?
Yeah, they might have the upper hand. Oh, I heard the sound of maybe an echo around for either Torque Freak or Jim Racing. But nevertheless, the Torque Freak has a little bit of an upper hand, as you said, 4 laps off stint. But if they are on equal pace in terms of stints and how they are driving, so it could become a three-way battle for certain.
Yeah, definitely. And Jim Racing team through the Ford chicane, closed up that gap to David Barraclough. Unable to do anything about it when that Ford GT is just so good under brakes, and that's been its strength right now. And let's see, coming through Dunlop curve, then into Dunlop chicane right now, as they've got a HPD on the inside that came out of nowhere, and going to throw it down and try and now harass the back of that Torque
other
Freak car. Yeah, I thought he was about to actually collide into the back then, so trying to work his way through. That's actually the Virtual Motorsports HPD, who's running in P number 6 at the moment. Got very close to the back of that Torque Freak number 61 Ford, but right now Jim Racing team, let's see what he can do. He's too far away right now, Miko McKillier, to get the tow, but he's definitely got the strength, and I think that's the strength of this car, Lorenzo, is just under brakes. So every time he is stronger under brakes, whether that's just how they've got this car set up, but they're definitely they're gaining a lot more than I thought. So maybe there's an issue there for that Torque Freak racing car, Lorenzo, because they just blew the doors off it.
Yeah, like just gone past by Jim Racing, just gone past by Torque Freak as Miko, don't go aggressive now. You might even get a slow down. But Miko is doing some good runs, and as you said, the strength of the Ford is braking and cornering, whereas the Ferrari has an advantage over long straights, top end speed. So what is Miko done is just compensating the acceleration of the car, which is really good, coming out of the corner, just putting the right amount of brakes and just slimming it out and getting that time that he needs so he can overtake in time.
Yeah, he's doing a good job at the moment. So I reckon maybe a slowdown for David Barraclough, because he was closing in again that time down the straight, so in the tow. So I reckon maybe he just, unless they're running more wing, I don't know. It's an interesting one there from Torque Freak, because they were pretty much in front, that they made it look way too easy for Jim Racing team down that straight. Just able to claw that one in, and now they're going to have Pure Racing team. So this 3-car scrap, he's going to liven it up just a little bit, as they're all trying to battle for P number 7 out there on the racetrack. Is coming down, we're winding down hour number 11 in the books, Lorenzo, and out in front, the gap, as we said it last time round, it was 4.2 seconds out of the race lead. It's still 4.3 seconds this time round, so not much has changed between Pure Racing team and Thrustmaster Movano out in front. Patrick Wolf still trying to close down on Marcus Hamilton. Just can't get there at the moment, can he, Lorenzo?
Yeah, he cannot get over there, even though Patrick is driving to the limit within the limits of this car. Of course, Marcus is doing the same. He's basically doing the same thing, drive to the better of his car and manage traffic and do everything else. He's going to the Ford chicanes right now, but good for him. He's actually keeping up now. It sounds the gap is around 3 seconds. Something is happening. Something has happened to the gap to go down 3 seconds, but still he's keeping within touch. If it is an alternate strategy from Pure Racing LMP with the other kind of stuff, it remains to be seen if they alternated the strategy, if they changed it. But so far, so good for Trustmaster Movano. They are getting the result that they want.
Yeah, they needed this result. And I think the Trustmaster Movano may have got held up by MSP, one of the MSP Phoenix Racing Fords through the Porsche curves or just coming out of them. So definitely, I think that may have been where that gap went down from roughly 4 seconds to 3. And I think the same thing happened there for Pure Racing Team, because the gap's back out to 3.6 of a second, and it's just going up now, 3.7 coming down the back stretch. So the gap is sort of fluctuating a bit. They've got a little bit of clean air. I think this is the best clean air that either of them are going to have. As I say that, there is a Ferrari in the way, but I think that's the last one for a fair while, where they can actually try and see who has got this overall pace. It's a logical Vortex in Racing Ferrari at the moment. Is going to be in that little bit of a train, but behind, having a look, there's actually a car stopped on the straight. Bam, Thrustmaster number 17 has come to a complete halt on the back stretch. Unsure as to what happened there. He's just pulled over, slammed on the brakes, and then stopped. Maybe a toilet break out the race show. I think he would have done that in a pit stop, Lorenzo, but that was an interesting one from the Bam Thrustmaster car.
Yeah, that was a very interesting one, and I don't know, I really want to know what happened for that complete stop, but still, he's flat laps down, so not going to affect much his race. It needs to be seen if the guy behind him from Verbatim Race is going to actually closer and maybe work for something, but apparently he is not, as he is more than a minute away from the Ben Trustmaster team.
Yeah, just having a look, and Hugo pulled it up. He couldn't shift. It actually came out of that corner and stayed in second. So that was the error there for that. Just couldn't shift up. So having a look back at that battle in the GT class, and once again, Talk Freak Racing, they lost that position to Pure Racing Team GTE. So something's going wrong for David Barraclough. I just think they don't have the overall speed that these guys around them do at this present point, because those two have just driven away. And Pure Racing Team GTE Red, they are closing in on that gap to that Jim Racing Team car once again, Lorenzo. I think we should just keep it on these guys for the rest of the extra hour and a half, or an hour and 12 minutes that we're going to be here for, because these guys are definitely having a good old scrap.
Yeah, they have delivered us nothing short of amazing battles and stuff, haven't they, Jake? But still, one thing to be quite noticeable of is that the Radicals Online team, with Kazuki Omishima driving right now, is actually chasing the Truster Movano 34 car, and actually is gaining the upper hand. I think something has happened on the 34 car, I think held up by traffic, but still the gap is a little bit dodgy. It's 2 seconds, even though Radicals is on a later stand.
Yes, the gap is coming down between those two, as well as having a look as well out in front of that gap to come down. But yeah, so definitely closing in the gap for P3 in the prototype class. But this battle is still on. Pure Racing Team GTE, the number 72, closing in even with that damage. Definitely got some pace on board. Mikko McKilly can't do anything about it at the moment. Mark Elkman can't do anything in terms of just through the Porsche curves. The Ford is obviously a little bit stronger through there, coming into this final chicane, the Ford chicane, and whether he can do anything about it here. That Talk Freak car now just in the distance behind them as they start to stretch their legs, and completing another lap in the books, and that's going to be putting them onto lap 166. 165 for them have been completed in the books. I'm getting told there's going to be 200 laps to go, so they're not even, but that would be for obviously the race leaders, so they're on lap, well, maybe a little bit more for them. So 200 laps is telling me for these guys that they may have left in the books. Obviously that's going to change, but still a long way to go, Lorenzo, and these guys may be in a battle for pretty much the entirety of it, because especially for this little 3-hour stint at the moment, they've been together nose to tail especially with the alternating strategies. Gym Racing teams with I think half of the GT field at the moment, and then Pure Racing team just seems to find another one.
Yeah, it seems to find another one, and working, the gap is basically closing, but it's been an interesting strategies being taken by teams, as we approach the halfway mark of this race, well, 1 hour before the halfway mark. It's been a very interesting race, to be quite honest. I was totally outside of my expectations. It even exceeded my expectations in terms of strategies. Amazement in battles around this race, as Pure Racing Team GTE Red is actually closing the gap on the Gym Racing Team despite the damage.
Yeah, even with that little bit of front end damage that Ferrari has, still closing in the gap, even in the draft. Can he have a look? Is he gonna pull out? Nope, just gonna feather the throttle. Rolls out of the throttle, sees a little bit of fuel in that sort of stage of the run, and now gonna see whether he can do anything about it. Coming out of the chicane, now they've got a HPD behind them. Is he gonna try and latch onto that toe, get a little bit more of a draft? Oh, as the HPD threads the needle through the middle of them. That's the usual prototype pass that we're used to around Le Mans down the Mulsanne straight. Goes from the outside to the inside, threads the needle between them both and gets the job done.
Job done, that kind of move you can see the LMP2 cars do on the GTs, the the LMP1 cars doing on the real thing. It's really cool to see. It sounds like they're going to crash, but really they don't. So it's kind of good to see that little bit of brief tension. As let's see, I think the Pure team might have something to do on. No, he's not going to go after Indianapolis. He's not going to take a chance.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to take the chance through Indianapolis. Just going to sit there and wait another time. He's definitely, though, hounding the back of this Gym Racing team forward, and you just can't seem to get that upper edge. I think that little bit of damage to that left front is just ultimately hurting, having that extra bit of pace that he may need to get the job done. And right now he's sitting behind for another lap, but I'm sure Mark Eckelman, he will find a way through, whether it's in a pit stop strategy. So he's coming up to complete lap 10 of his stint at the moment in this car for the cycle of pit stops, and in front of him coming out to complete lap 6 for the Gym Racing team Ford. And having a look through, actually out in front, the gap now, and I thought that was closing. It's 9/10 of a second, and actually live it's 5/10. Half a second separates P1 and P2, and this time Thrustmaster Movano Racing, number 33 of Marcus Hamilton, he's got it all to play for, because that Patrick Wolf in the Pure Racing team, number 7, is all over the back, and it's game on again, Lorenzo. The battle has recommenced.
Battle recommenced, round 35 fight. Let's do this. Well, one of the things to be quite noticeable of is that Patrick per lap has been putting 1 second faster than Marcus Hamilton. So here we go. So let's see if you can read the mobile block door. Let's try it again, boys.
A little bit of a smooth. I think he was going to go to the inside, then realized he couldn't block it. Wolf down the inside, gets the job done in the second chicane on the back straight on the Mulsanne, and now tries to pull away straight away from Marcus Hamilton to try and increase that lead. But this is what the undercut put from Maximilian Benecke to bring in and put Patrick Wolf in this car, and now he's got the job done on Marcus Hamilton. Here comes the toe. Is Hamilton going to have a look? No, he's not, but he's definitely close enough. Can he line himself up for Indianapolis now, Lorenzo? He can get that good exit, which I think he has. He might be able to have a dig now down into Indy.
Yeah, he might have digging out of the Indy, but it remains to be seen, because the gap, he needed to be around 0.3 of a second. He's closing it, but I don't think that's going to be enough. He might be down to the wire, as Pure Racing team already blocking the outside line. He's going to go for it. He's going to go for it. Let's do this.
Good move there from Marcus Hamilton down the inside into Indianapolis. Gets the job done, and now Patrick Wolf has to try and do it all over again. He thinks he's going to be in this battle for a while now, Lorenzo, and now whether he can get the look. I don't think he'll look down into Porsche curves, but will they run side by side through Porsche curves is yet to be seen with these guys. We know Beneke had a go at it before. Let's see what Patrick Wolf's going to do right in the slipstream. Is he going to look? Nope. He's going to sit behind. Now he's got to deal with that dirty air. Now he may just give himself a couple of car lengths through these Porsche curves, which is starting to happen already. A car length, a couple, now out to 2 car lengths, this gap between first and second. Just trying to get away from that little bit of dirty air from the back of that HBD in front of him. And now gonna maybe line himself up for the Ford chicane, but a couple of car lanes too far back at the moment, Lorenzo, to do anything about it.
Great exit, by the way, great exit from Patrick. You know, a better than expected exit from the Pure Racing team. Now remains to be seen if his exit on the start-finish line is going to be good enough to carry into Dunlop and see if that gap of us is going to take some, going to do something. But let's remember one thing: there are only stints, though. One of them, the racing leader, is on 10 laps. The Pure Racing team is on 12 laps, so they are nearly the end of their stints, respectively. So it needs to be seen if they're going all the way 1 more lap or 2 more laps, or they're just gonna trade jobs until one gives up.
Who knows whether they're going to give up. I don't think either of them are going to give up at this stage of the race, but let's see. Now this is where they got a Ferrari in front of them, which may pose a little bit of an issue in terms of who's going to make the move here. But I think Patrick Wolf for Pure Racing team, he may be able to have a look. I think he's going to set himself up for the second part of the chicane. I don't think he wants to do it in the first one, because obviously then it just allows Marcus Hamilton, sorry, just to go back down the inside, get the toe for the second part of the Mulsanne. So let's see, through the first chicane, still nose to tail for the race leaders. Marcus Hamilton out in front, Patrick Wolf in second, Thrustmaster Movano, the Pure Racing team out in front. And let's see, for the Neo Endurance Series 24 Hours of Le Mans, we're coming up to complete 11th hour in this one, and these guys are fighting like it's the last lap of the race. Here we go, 3/10 of a second, coming down to a 1/10 of a second. Here he goes, Hamilton to the inside, Wolf to the outside. This is a different one to last time around. They're going to go side by side into the chicane. Still side by side out of it, using all the road and a bit more. And they're going to go side by side out of it, Lorenzo. Good hard battle for the race lead.
Oh, extraordinary battle for the race lead. They're side to side, basically same pace, same speed. It's going to come down to the wire over here on the braking of the end of the Mulsanne corner. Who's going to go for it? Who's going to get out in front of it? Patrick Wolf breaks late. He goes into the inside, sticks it in. He's going to be first place.
Gonna be in first place, but for how long? Because here comes Thrustmaster Movano, the better exit coming out of the Mulsanne corner. And now let's see whether he's going to have a look into Indianapolis. He might be close enough. That 13 laps on the stint though for Patrick Wolf, so I think he may be coming down pit road. To the outside goes Marcus Hamilton. Whether he can get him clear before Indianapolis of Patrick Wolf, and Wolf drops him back behind. So another lead change out in front, the 33 back to the point. Now let's see whether Pure Racing team's
wobbly exit from Thrustmaster.
Yeah, poor exit there from Thrustmaster Movano. This could actually line him up, but now Lorenzo, does Patrick Wolf sitting behind him because he's going to come up to complete lap 13. I think he may come into pits this time, and I don't think it'll be worth him having a dig, but let's see. I think he may just sit in behind, or as I say that, looks like he's getting a little bit racy here, coming into the Porsche curves to the outside of Marcus Hamilton, and does it the long way around. What a move from Pure Racing team's Patrick Wolf. Got the job done on the entry into the Porsche curves.
Fantastic move by Patrick Wolf. That's the way, I like it, on the outside. Very good move by Patrick Wolf. Now it needs to be seen if he's going to the pit stop. They're done with it. They're going to the fourth chicane. Here he goes. Pure Racing team going to the pits.
He just wanted to get it done before he came to the pits. It's one of those moves. I just want to make sure I'm in front before that pit stop cycle begins. Yep, here it is. Style points, and got a more for that move through the Porsche curves. So well done there from Pure Racing team's Patrick Wolf as he brings it down onto pit lane with a pit speed limiter engaged at 37 miles an hour at the moment, coming down pit lane, which I don't know why I'm in miles an hour, but I am today, so that's just what we're going to have to live with. But here he comes down onto pit road. And now, as that battle sort of diffuses itself with that, it'll re-engage, so we may as well go on to our final hour, 11th hour run through right now, as Thrustmaster Movano was in second, but now takes the lead back away. This time Marcus Hamilton out in front with Pure Racing Team sitting in second, as they are in pit lane with Patrick Wolf after an amazing battle through Portugal. Thrustmaster Movano Racing, this is the number 34 car, sitting in P number 3, Radicals Online in 4th, with Team Chimera rounding out the top 5. And down in the GTE cars, since we've been watching that battle, they haven't had much limelight. Behind some Velcor Motorsport, Cake Shubi right now out in front, leading that from the VRS Squared Sim Sports number 81, starting to come back in P2, 16 seconds behind the race lead. Pure Racing Team GTE Blue in P number 3, with VRS Squared Sim Sport number 88 in P4, with Thrustmaster Movano Racing, after an issue with running out of fuel on the racetrack, has regained 5th position, but roughly a minute behind P number 4. Now, I think we should maybe go on board this time. Let's go on board. It may even be with a pit stop window, but let's go on board for our fan immersion break with actually Thrustmaster Movano number 33, if we could. It may be coming up to a pit stop window, but let's go on board with Marcus Hamilton, our current race leader, for our fan immersion while we go for a short break here on Racebot TV and iRacing Live. comes out of Arnage and coming down into the Porsche curves. We're back here at Racesport TV and iRacing Live for the 24 hours of Le Mans for the Neo Endurance Series. And right now coming in after lap hour number 11 here at Circuit de Le Mans. And it's Jake Blackall joining me in the commentary booth, Lorenzo Bondo, with Hugo Luis working the cameras. As always, you can get Racesport as well on Racesport live timing to get all the timing there as well on the Neo Endurance website. They have their live timing up as well as out in front. It's been a battle of the ages, and as I say that, lucky we just finished our fan immersion, Lorenzo, because into the pits comes Marcus Hamilton, and here is the strategy we've been waiting for. Pure Racing team pitted 2 laps ago. Here comes Marcus Hamilton, and this could be on for young and old out of the pit stops now, Lorenzo, because Patrick Wolf is pushing as I switch to his car. He was sideways coming out of Arnage, and now he's pushing down that back straight towards Porsche curves. As you now must know, the leader is in the pit lane.
Yeah, you must know the leader is in the pit lane, but furthermore, I think that might work out for Trustmaster Movano, because not only Patrick came out of sideways on Arnage, he came out of sideways also on the corner, also the corner. He had a little bit of a hard exit on the Mulsanne. Now you got a Trustmaster Movano car in front of him in the exit of the Porsche curve, so that might put a little bit of a damage on his car in terms of timing, so that might leave the Trustmaster Movano in the front when he comes out.
It's a little bit ironic. The Trustmaster Movano car, GT car, happened to be in the same spot. It's just a coincidence. But now, through the final chicane for Pure Racing team, Trustmaster Movano Racing still in the pit lane. They haven't moved as of yet. Still there, waiting. They're doing it actually, a driver change as well. So this could be that 11-second difference. As there goes Pure Racing team past them. And now, exits the pit lane, just Frederick Evers in the Trustmaster Movano Racing. So a pure lead change for Pure Racing team. They're now out in front by roughly, once we get an update on the timing, we'll figure out how far in front, but I reckon it's going to be roughly around about 11 seconds, 12 seconds of a gap now to Patrick Wolf. And as I say that, 10.8 seconds between Trustmaster Movano Racing and Pure Racing team out in front, Lorenzo.
Is that Trustmaster Movano not only did a driver swap, he put new tires, so he's gonna get that gap. He's gonna close it a little bit into the later half of the race. He's gonna probably have at least 1 to 2 stints of better tires, better pace, even though the car is gonna be a little bit full in this part of the race, into this final hour of the first half of the race.
Final hour of the first half of this race, and we'll bring you straight through to the end of the first half of the race before handing it over to 2 people who I really don't want to hand over to. Hugo will know why that's I don't want to. I'm glad I'm not a part of that commentary booth, Hugo, because that's going to be a nutting. Don't want to be a part of that one. We've got Trustmaster Movano out in front, Pure Racing team in P2. Trustmaster Movano Racing number 34 running in as I said, Pure Racing team in first, Pure and then Trustmaster Movano second and third. Right now, Radicals Online rounding out the top number 4, and then top 5 with Team Chimera there as well. As they've had a good strong run still with Simon Trindle at the wheel. Heisenfeld Core Motorsports lead the Grand Touring class from the Pure Racing team GTE Blue at the moment. Various Quentin Sim Sports cars running in 3rd and 4th. That's the 81 ahead of the 88. With the Trustmaster Movano Racing GTE number 69 coming home in P number 5 at the moment. But Heisenfeld's really been unchallenged. We haven't really spoken about him much as well, or the car I should say, much, Lorenzo. But it's just been out in front. It's been a dominant force. Kei Kashubi at the wheel at the moment. But no one's really been able to challenge them. They've got a lead of roughly 40 odd seconds, and they've had that for pretty much the entire race.
Yeah, they pretty much have been in a safe zone the entire race. This entire hours we've been covering, they have been in a safe zone, not being damaged by anyone or in position of being threatened by anyone. And they're basically doing their own race. They're putting their own laps. They're putting their own pace. So, and it's a pace that it's a comfy pace, it's a comfortable pace, and it still gives them the lead and puts them in a really good spot when the second half of the race comes.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, I think Thrasmos and Movano, obviously they were running second before they struck with their issues. They were really the only people that were close enough to maybe battle with them, but at this time they're just not able to do anything with it. Obviously they've dropped out of that second place position, and pretty much the battles that we were having a look at as order fused itself. Gym Racing Team sort of improved their gap over Pure Racing Team due to E-Red. Torque Freak as well is a little bit further behind than I think they would like to be at this point in time. So really the battle was for the race lead, and now let's see what Frederick Evers can do in this Thrustmaster Movano car, Lorenzo. I don't know, I'm just having a look whether he has been in the car before. His pace was roughly 32.4, looking at was his best pace, but roughly in the 33s as well. Whether he'll be able to close that gap now to Patrick Wolf out in front is yet to be seen, because obviously we haven't had them both in the car at the same time. So now it's unknown land, but 10 seconds is the gap, and that's the gap that they were able to make up before as we look at the Simotok car on pit lane for their service.
Yeah, thus far, if we are to analyze thus far, the Trustmaster Movano Frederick was actually closing the gap. He got a little bit stuck right now in the middle of traffic and doing some bad turns, but in pace they are very equal, and I think the key to Frederick is I'm not going to say avoid making mistakes, because that's what every driver has to do, but work out traffic in a fast way he doesn't get stuck, because right now he's getting traffic in places that is bad for him. He loses a little bit of a tenth of a second into his stint, so that allows Patrick Wolf for like insane pace to just flies off and rocket out of the track and open up that gap.
Yeah, and he's got a good clean air as we look at that Simotok esports car coming out of the pit lane after their pit stop window. They just did a driver change as well. Cedric Bolden now behind the wheel of that car as we're looking down in front. We've got an interview here. Mitchell de Jong is on board, and we're trying to see if we can get him. Whether he is there, I can't see his mic. Looks like he's shut at the moment. Whether we can find out whether Mitchell is there, we may be able to bring Mitchell in for an interview. And Lorenzo, you may be able to bring that one with Lorenzo. Yep, Lorenzo, you can talk to Mitchell de Jong. Mitchell de Jong, obviously, from Coanda Sim Sports, to bring him in. And Lorenzo, you can talk to Mitchell de Jong.
Yeah, I'm just trying to... Alright, here we go. Mitchell de Jong, driver for the VRS Coanda 81 car, doing really good stints when he was in it. Mitchell, how are you doing, man? Tell me what is the assessment of your team this far? Right now, grabbing a podium finish at third place.
Yeah, so far it looks really good. I think we're looking to be on pace for second, and then I think it's a really close kind of battle once kind of we get the strategy figured out with Boisingfield Core in the lead. So yeah, 15-second gap. We'll see what we can do. Tony and Max will have a lot of sense to do, so I'm sure they're gonna do really, really well.
So you pretty much say that you're basically on pace for second place, which is really interesting to see, to hear from you. This statement, you guys are basically running really safe, you know, running really good laps, putting in really good pace, especially with you and Marty Pitla in the car. And what strategies did you guys do in order, or you have to do in order to get to that second place?
Yeah, I wasn't really here for the beginning of it due to the G that we had to do. But I think from the beginning the plan was kind of just to go flat out, just basically to try to make up positions in time just by pace. And yeah, I think we're kind of in between trying to figure out what to do. I see that Core in the lead is kind of playing the strategy game, and everyone else is kind of going back and forth and stuff. So, you know, basically half the race left, so a lot can still happen. Kind of just trying to decide now what the best way to play this is. So we'll see. I think it can be quite interesting for sure how the strategy plays out, and could be some good battles at the end. It's quite impressive really to have so many cars in this class so close after already 12 hours. So should be good fun.
Nice, nice. And you guys have been the leader of the championship, basically nearly clinching the title. Of course, I'm not gonna knock on the wood and say I'm not gonna put the curse in it, but you guys have been doing really good thus far. What do you think that has come down in terms of? Do you think it has come down in terms of drivers or testing the car or knowing the tracks? What do you think has come down to have such a good outing in every single race?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. You know, good prep really will set you up well to have the least issues. Always with endurance racing, it's kind of a case of minimizing those errors and things that cost you a lot of time. And yeah, we've had some really clean runs in all the other races. Didn't really have too many issues. So yeah, pretty much just trying to make sure we run as clean of a race as possible. There's a lot of really quick teams like iRacing Team Blue. They've been pretty much one of the our closest competitors in a lot of the other races that we're always battling with, whether it be qualifying or the race. So you know, you really have to find that limit where you're really pushing, trying to get everything out of the car and catch or pull away from people, but also balance that endurance aspect in it. I think it's been pretty good so far, and yeah, with this final one being double points, it's always really scary. But so far so good. Hopefully continue to have no issues and can be on for a good result again. Nice.
And you guys are a very traditional GT team. If we are to look into the future right now, next season, with the possibility of the LMP1 car coming into the new Endurance Series, would you guys be willing to go into a team, form an LMP1 team of Coin the Sim Sport?
Yeah, definitely. I would say at least, yeah, definitely expect at least one car, I'd imagine. I don't know how the ruling works, but yeah, we're all really excited for that car. Kind of more in the really competitive races like Neo and stuff like that. So really good fun. The car is really cool, and it's gonna be quite an interesting car to race with when everyone's so close on pace and kind of managing, your hybrid power while through traffic and all that. It's certainly going to be exciting, and obviously with there being such a big speed difference between the cars in other classes to that thing, it's for sure it's going to make some exciting on-track antics, I guess.
Right. Well, for my part, I don't know if Jake has a question to you, Mitchell.
It's always good talking to you, Mitchell. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The LMP1 car and how quick that thing is, it's gonna make it just that even tougher. Like, even if you guys, I know you guys, obviously your team, mainly GT3 guys, but you can drive anything else really. We know what you can drive, so that's out of the question. But is there the point in where you go with these GT cars is sort of where they're in the race, like if they were in this race today, you'd be more watching out for them because they're just that much quicker? Like, how would you guys even play with that traffic, because they are just so much quicker on the racetrack compared to the GT cars?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's kind of the big unknown. We haven't really had any races to kind of see how it pans out, but if you look at pure lap time and things like that, it's pretty insane. And if you look at the speed difference, it's really not, because they just accelerate so quick and brake so deep, and that's where they gain so much time. And with the downforce and all that, it's gonna be quite hectic, I think, especially if you have like a really tight battle between a couple leading LMP1s and they're starting to get through traffic. I think you'll find some really interesting situations there. So we'll see how everyone handles it. I think it'll be quite exciting for sure, and we'll find out, I guess, in the coming season.
I know it's gonna make it it's gonna take it from an extra notch that this season has already brought upon us with obviously the GTE cars. It's just made this series even more. But thank you for spending the time to come up here, Mitchell, and talk to us. And hopefully you guys can have a good strong run. And obviously I think you guys just jumped up into P number 2 with Pure Racing Team coming down into pit lane. So hopefully you guys can keep that one to the end.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
That was Mitchell de Jong in the 81 Commander Sim Sport. A car as Hugo's just saying to tell Yoni not to stop hitting the walls, because you're scraping up that good paint job on that car at the moment. Running in P number 2, the sister car actually quite close in P number, and as I say that, the sister car comes down pit lane, and that is Jorn Jens in the number 88 coming down into pit lane. And I think we all can't wait, Lorenzo, for next season, because if the LMP cars ones, and I'd say when they come in, I know that Neo won't pass up on having the LMP1 cars in this series. Imagine this next week, like next season, having Le Mans 24 hours with the HPDs, if whether they're in there as well, but having those LMP1 cars and the battle that we had with Pure and Movano scrapping with everyone else, that would be a little bit intense, and I think that would have just hyped it up just a little bit more, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I think that would hype it up a little bit more, and I think it would give some of the viewers, and especially teammates, a little bit of a heart attacks, you know, because they go so quick. For those who do the Le Mans series, the iRacing Le Mans series, you can see how fast they are. It's not in terms of being fast, like just where you think you're going fast, they're just like skyrocketing you into hyperspace. But it's amazing. I've driven a little bit of Fisher and Nodrigates, and I've seen the speed difference, how the performance goes, but I'm really interested to see top level racing, multi-class into one of iRacing series, whether it's Le Mans or Neo. I really want to see how drivers would actually manage with a hybrid system and all this traffic and stuff.
Yeah, it's so much more, and Mitchell hit the nail on the head in terms of just where that car makes up its time. It's under brakes as we look at MSP Phoenix Racing. That was the number 38 down the inside of one of the GT cars. That was a little bit close for comfort for those two, but yeah, Mitchell hit the nail on the head. It's so much stronger under brakes, so much quicker in acceleration zones that it's just ridiculous. And obviously in top speed land it's not that much faster, but it's just going to be crazy to watch it with the downforce, especially through Porsche curves, and then a GT car, you're going to be braking because you're so much quicker through that section that if you catch a car through there, you're going to lose so much more time than what you would lose in the HPD. Obviously, you catch them in that spot, you can maybe roll out, maybe a little bit of a dab, but I think you have to slow down quite a bit, and you're going to catch them so much quicker in an LMP1 car compared to what you would in a HPD catching a GT car. It's just going to make for an interesting race, as out in front, Pure Racing Team still leading 8.1 seconds at the moment, Lorenzo, and nothing they can do about it. Grassmaster Movano slowly reeling in the gap, but not close enough at the moment.
Yeah, not being able to close out that gap, even though it is at around 8 seconds, it is an okay-ish gap between one another, but given the fact that the stint from Trustmaster Movano is 2 stints earlier compared to Pure Racing, they might have newer tires. I was expecting Frederick to be a little bit faster than usual and catch up with more ease to Patrick, but that shows the resilience on the Pure Racing team and the skill on Patrick's side to be able to pull away and be able to hold such margin.
Yeah, he's been able to just get into a rhythm that he likes and be able to do what he wants to do. I was actually having a look now as Pure Racing Team actually coming up on their sister car their GTE car actually passing them just after the Porsche curves. But there's a battle for P3. It's a little bit of a gap between the two, but it's starting to come down. 4.8 seconds separates Radicals Online, who has actually moved into P3. Trustmaster Movano is right now in P4. I think Trustmaster Movano made their pit stop 3 laps ago. So Radicals Online are obviously on a different strategy again. But Kazuki Umeshima has been absolutely flying out there at the racetrack and been able to punch in lap times considerably quicker than those around him at the moment. So this could be the phase of the run where we maybe see that position officially change for P3. Obviously, he's got a long way to go if he wants to get a pit stop length in here. He's just got a HPD in front of him, though, that might hold him up a little bit and bring him back to Thrustmaster Movano, Lorenzo. But if he can get clear of him, he's got some nice clean air to work with.
Yeah, one of the things I really want to confirm with us is that I'm seeing over here that Maxime Briand has been for 16 laps on his stint. So, is this his first stint, still 16 laps, or has it been because telemetry says he's been for 16 laps total? So that's, if it is on 16 laps, that's quite a long stint, so that makes sense. He loses naturally a little bit of time, but nevertheless, if not, it's just a matter of avoiding traffic, as right now the 34 has caught up with the 55 and is being held up a little bit.
Yeah, that is the race leader at the moment. Yeah, 3 laps of his stint is Maxime at the moment. So he's just coming up. He's just on the start of his stint as he gets around that Heisenfeld Core Motorsports car of Kei Kashubi at the moment. As I'm having a look just through whether there is any of those battles starting to form up, because I just see Nico Michilia actually leave the server. So he's obviously vacated the Gym Racing Team Ford, so they've done their pit stop, and they are 5.8 seconds in front of Pure Racing Team GTE at the moment. So they've done their service and got out. As we look back, there's a battle between the 66 and the 85, as Hugo screams in the chat. We have a battle between Walkiva Kinetic Racing and MSP Phoenix Racing right now out there. This is coming down into the Mulsanne Straight. Robin Rosenbinge right now in that 66 car. The 85 of Tobias Julia running behind him in the 85, not close enough to be able to do anything with it. But he's still there. He might be able to gain some time, especially through these Porsche curves. Through these back chicanes.
Yeah, he's just done the first Mulsanne chicane. Now, actually, 0.6 of a second. He's going low. He's going to lower down naturally to around 0.4 of a second, being to be able to try to make a move on the Mulsanne corner at the end of the Mulsanne, or maybe even at the straight to Indianapolis. So, just a matter of time to see if the MSP driver of Tobias Yula is going to make that move.
Whether he makes a move or not, and not at this time, he's going to have to sit in behind once again at the MSP Racing Phoenix. Ford is going to try and get the toe down this back straight now. Whether he can make a move into Mulsanne or he's going to wait for Indianapolis, I think he's going to roll out and wait for Indianapolis, and that's going to be his better option right now as Tobias Julia looks to the outside, rip the cone on entry into the Mulsanne corner and out of the corner. Let's see if he can get a good exit in that 4GT. He does so. He's going to be close enough to be able to do anything with it. He's roughly 0.4 away from that race, from that position, Lorenzo, and at the moment, I just think it's a little bit too far away heading into Indianapolis.
And that's a little bit too far, and what's worse for the 85? There is an LMP car coming on their rear, which is probably Team GT's HPG car coming up at the end of Indianapolis. He's not going to make the move over here. He's probably going to make the move after Arnage. So right now for Tobias, it's just work really close to the rear end of the Kiva Kinetic and racing car and being able to make a move on the start-finish line, or maybe up to
yeah, you may have to wait after Dunlop, or you can try and use this HPD and try and follow him through, but the HPD is just going to catch him right now and blow the doors off that 4GT right now as he goes to the inside, and there he goes. And I thought he may try and sneak a little bit of toe from the HPD. He's back in behind the Ferrari, now coming through the Porsche curves, and might be able to do anything with it. Not close enough to maybe get. He just needs to get underneath that rear wing coming out of Porsche curves to set himself up for the Ford chicane. Whether he can get there or not, it's yet to be known. Coming through the final part of the Porsche curbs and just close, but not there. I think definitely Dunlop, he might be able to have a dig, Lorenzo. If he can nail this final chicane, he's going to flash the lights. Whether he moves to the inside, he doesn't. But he's definitely there now. He's definitely applying the pressure.
And definitely applying the pressure, like saying, hey bro, I'm here, I'm gonna try to overtake you. Oh, big mistake from the Arkiva car. The MSP is gonna have the advantage going on the straight line into Dunlop. Here we go.
Side by side, he got the job done. He got the job done before Dunlop curb. So good move there from the MSP Phoenix Racing number 85 of Tobias Julia. Moves himself up another position. I don't know what position that is overall, but I think it's just outside the top 10 at the moment. I think it is actually for P number 12 out on the racetrack. So good move, has the pace. Now he's going to try and pull away from that Ferrari, but he's definitely had the pace to be able to do so out there. And now just got a clean track in front of him, no lap traffic behind him either with some HPDs, so he's all clear and in the air, and now got to try and pull away. Looking back out in front as well, just updating on that as we come to half an hour before we reach the halfway point in this one. Pure Racing Team still out in front. They've got roughly a 7-second lead. It's come down this last time, Lorenzo. It was 8.1 at the line. It is now only 6.8. So it's starting to come down just a little bit more than what I was expecting between the leading two.
Yeah, but the problem for Frederick is he's a little bit inconsistent on his timing. Look at the times: 3:34, 3:33, 3:33, 3:32, then back to 3:34. Like, this is consistency is a little bit damaging if he wants to have a shot into closing the gap and having a battle for the race. Whereas the Pure Racing Team driver is just doing consistent 333s all around. So he needs more consistency. He needs to crave those 333s, 332s with more consistency, avoid 334s at all costs.
Yeah, it's exactly what he needs to do. He needs to just try and make sure that he can nail down a consistent pace. But Patrick Wolf out in front, he has been pretty dominant out there at the moment. Once he got that lead, once again crossing the stripe, another 33, a high 33, 33.9. Let's see what the Thrustmaster Movano car is going to do this time around at 32.8. And that's what we're talking about, inconsistent. Does a 34 last time around, goes out and does a 32.8. Another second taken out of that gap, so it's now 7 seconds across the stripe. So it's one of those things where right now Frederick Evans needs to just figure out what type of groove he can get into, try and avoid some of the traffic that he's been coming onto, and trying to pick sort of the best moments to get around them. I know it's hard to do that, and it's easier to say than do, to pick your moments with the lap traffic. Obviously coming across them sometimes can be difficult, but he just needs to try and make sure he can manufacture himself into the best position at the moment, Lorenzo, because he can definitely have a shot if he keeps those 32 ups to close down on that Pure Racing Team car out in front.
Yeah, he just needs to make sure to do good work of the traffic. He's going to have some traffic already. He's going to have at least an LMP and probably two GTE cars right ahead of him. He just needs to clear them out quickly and efficiently. He needs to do it, and he needs to do it right now if he wants to have a chance at the later half of his stint.
He needs to try and figure out a way past these lap cars and try and put himself in an area where he can just punch out some laps. But it just seems like every lap there's more cars coming out on the racetrack, which there isn't. It's just the traffic is starting to spread themselves out. That's actually SRN Motorsports orange car that is in front of the Thrustmaster Movano number 33 HPD. They were in a battle, the SRN Motorsports orange car with the Gym Racing Team car. They've fallen away behind them as well. So they're doing a good job though, that SRM Motorsports Orange now comfortably in P number 6 at the moment, as we look at that. And it's interesting knowing that they were in a battle for 7th and 8th back with Gym Racing Team, but they've sort of just elevated themselves into a really solid 6th place position at the moment, Lorenzo.
Yeah, a really solid 6th position right now into this race, and that is kind of good for them, even though the pace of Dean Moll is not the best pace they want to have. He's doing 352s, but he's on his later half of the stint. He's 12 laps in, so he's doing 352s. Let me just look at the laps or an average. Yeah, that's around 352s, 351s. whereas Guillaume Escudero is basically on the beginning of his stint and already done a 3:49. Basically nearly doing the best lap for his team. It isn't the best lap because he probably got a off track or something like it.
Yes, and it may have been the best lap, but obviously with the off track, maybe got an off track that hurt that one. But at the moment, Jim Racing Team as well, they're trying to close down that gap. They are closing down 3 seconds a lap, but can he get there? Right now, Julian Mescada running in that Ford GT MP number 7 in class at the moment. They're in front of that Pure Racing Team GT Red, which is in P number 8, and they can definitely close the gap. 16 seconds to the SRN Motorsports car orange in front, and they're going to have to try and see what they can do about that. But while we're talking about that, the Thrustmaster Mavano car did get around those lap traffic. He is still 6.7 seconds away, so not much time gained between the leaders. And we're talking about that as well. Looking at actually in terms of lap count, it's lap number 10 of the stint for Patrick Wolf as he crosses stripe, 6.8 seconds, as I think definitely not the time that either one would want to. But slow down for SRN Orange, as that's going to hurt him a little bit more as well. So now that gap's trundling down to 12-something seconds between themselves and Jim Racing Team.
Yeah, he got the slowdown at the exit of Porsche curves, so he basically done between Ford into the start-finish line. That damages him quite a lot because that outside, it's like 7/10 of a second to 1 second per se. So you want to slow down the car and try to be as quick at it, but in those 4 curves you gain so much slow down time that is actually quite damaging to him. It's a shame, but he needs to keep his head focused and do more good laps.
Yeah, needs to be focused, keep trying to pull away. He'll know that Jim Racing Team is closing that gap behind him, so he's just got to try and stay in front and just do everything he can to hold down that 6th position before that Jim Racing Team car gets to him. In front though, the battle is not really closing down. Obviously Commander Sim Sports a fair way behind the Heisenfeld Core Motorsports car out in front in that category at the moment. And Heisenfeld Core at the moment, Kei Kashubi, it's over 1.5 minutes at the moment, and we were talking about it about a minute before. I think it was a minute 17. Now it's out to a minute and a half. Kei Kashubi is just driving the wheels off this Ferrari, and he's making it look easy. The car looks so well balanced. There's no over twitches, there's no oversteer on that car, there's no understeer. It just looks like it is planted, and he can put that car where he wants to and just drive it how he wants.
He drives kind of a little bit of a prototype, doesn't it? Like, it sounds like it's a prototype driving of so much air force these cars have. But in average, if we are to look into Kei Kashubi's time, he's doing an average 349s, 348s, 349 mediums to low to 348 medium high. So he's very consistent. That's the consistency that you really are look for in a race like this, especially with the halfway on the race coming up really soon.
Especially coming out to halfway, and he's just able to do that consistently in this car, and that's what's put it in the position that it is in at the moment, out in front of the Grand Touring class right now, and trying to see what he can get for the end of the championship run. Maybe even try and take some double points away from those guys in the championship. He's taking a lot of curve through that final chicane, just pushing that car to its limit. Essentially, there is the car and pit lane, one of the GT cars coming down pit lane, let's say, for a scheduled pit stop, as out in front, just having a look to see whether he's coming down, and Patrick Wolf might come down. There should be a couple of laps before Patrick Wolf comes down. I reckon about 2 more laps before we see the race leader come down onto pit lane, as he's coming up to complete lap 11 of his stint. So a couple more laps, I think, for Patrick Wolf in the Pure Racing Team LMP, and I think he will come in. I'd say he will stay in that car, Lorenzo. I don't think there'd be any need to take him out, especially with the pace that he's been running.
Yeah, the pace has been really good for the Pure Racing Team of Patrick Wolf. He's doing really good laps, not endangering his car, putting them in the right place, in the right spots, avoiding any kind of problems, you know, and not giving any chance to the Trustmaster Mavano Racing Team on Frederick Evans, even though he's been doing quite a good job. Oh, by the way, one thing is really interesting. Let's go to P2 on the GT field. Battle is going to brew really soon because Jonas Wallmeyer has been doing really good laps, nearly 2 seconds quicker to Joni Takanen from VRS Coenda.
Yeah, Joni hasn't been given it the pace that De Jong is in that car at the moment. So Mitchell De Jong obviously did a 47.6, fastest lap in that car. I think it's one of the fastest laps in the field today. It actually is. It's quicker than Heisenfeld Core Motorsports out in front. But let's see Joni Takanen right now running in P number 2 in the Pure Racing Team GTE blue car. Jonas Wallmeyer running in P number 3 might be able to do something about this. Last time around, another 2 seconds. Yeah, another 2 seconds went the way. That's a big gain for Pure Racing Team GTE Blue. Looking at the stints as well, there's only 3 laps separating him. So really good drive right now from Jonas Wallmeyer, like you said, Lorenzo, and he might be able to do something about it in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, you might be able to do a few things in the next couple of laps. Maybe going to face off against the VRS Command 81 car. But yeah, we need to see if he's going to be able to close out that gap, first of all, because the VRS Coenda is on a 14 lap stint, sorry, on a 9 lap stint. He's going to have a few more laps to work with. He has a clean air, so welcome down to the wire. Maybe if he catches up, he's going to be with 1 lap, 2 more laps going to his stint.
Yeah, it'll be a couple of laps in this thing. Let's see. There's another HPD works their way through this little battle that is starting to brew. That's actually the BAM Thrustmaster car again, who had their issues before on the straight where they couldn't upshift by the looks of it in that car, but they've got that one sorted. And he's actually going to get past the Coenda SimSport car as well. So this is the battle for P3 in the Grand Touring class, coming up to 18 minutes to the halfway mark in this one. And then we'll have to hand it over. And I'm just, yeah, Paul Smith and Randy Chinnis, everyone should be scared of what's going to happen in that broadcast, because that's going to be the Chaos Hour. We should call it Chaos Corner of the broadcast, because that's what it's going to be when those two are going to be put together in the booth. But right now, still this battle going on for P number 3 in the GL. P number 2, I should say. I always, looking at the third car, got that one mixed up. But coming across 1.3 seconds separates the two of them. So it's coming down, Lorenzo, but I think the pace is there for the GTE blue car of Jonas Wallmeyer to get the job done before the next pit stop cycle. Whether he can get the pass done, he's going to get there. Whether he can get the pass done, though, before the stop, that's going to be yet to ask.
Yeah, that's going to be the question remaining now in this following laps. If Jonas Wallmeyer is going to be able to reach, well, one of the things is certain, he's going to be able to reach Joni Takanen. The question is if he's going to be able to pass before Joni goes into the pits. Probably he's going to have a 13 or 14 lap stints, lap stint. So he needs to basically close out when Joni's around the 12th, maybe 13th lap on his stint in order to at least have a positive outcome on Jonas' stint.
And they definitely improved this car. Patrick Pitchler had an issue, just didn't have, I think, the car underneath him that he wanted. And now Jonas Wallmeyer has gotten in the car and has been able to crawl this car back into definite second place contention and holding down this podium spot at the moment. So he's definitely been able to find something that Patrick couldn't. Obviously Patrick had a little mistake when he was in that big battle early on when we come around about that 8 to 9 hour mark. So now let's see what he can do. Lap time is within a second now, coming up to the final Ford chicane, and none of them are going to come down pit lane, obviously, this time round, but definitely within the window now, Lorenzo, and he is starting to close in on the back of that VRS Command SimSports, and that Pure Racing Team GTE is getting a little bit bigger in the mirror for Joni Takanen.
Yeah, he's probably already, Joni's already waving his hands to Joni, saying, "Hi, my man, I'm here to battle you if you don't mind me." Well, it's just a matter now of where is it going to be the main point of battle, as right now Jonas is just closing the gap, working the corners to get that 1/10 of a second up on his opponent on the Ferrari to see where he can start to brewing up a move.
Yeah, coming now down onto the Mulsanne straight. 0.6 of a second separates the second and third in the Grand Touring class here for the Neo Endurance Series at the 24 Hour Le Mans. And let's see what Jonas Wallmeyer can do. Coming down the Mulsanne, both in Ferraris, no advantage for either of them now. It's just a matter of the draft and seeing if he can do anything with this draft down into the first chicane. He's going to brake a little bit later, try and close that gap up, which he's done so. So he's got the gap down. A little bit of a poor exit though out of the first chicane. All that time he made up, he ran it a little bit too wide, had to dab the brakes on to try and get the car to wall up, and it just ran a little bit too wide, and he lost about a couple of car lengths, pulled him out the 410 of the second Lorenzo. Now he's going to have to try and think about maybe lining him up for the Mulsanne corner. It's not going to get him here into this second chicane, or maybe even Indianapolis later on in the lap.
Yeah, he needs to start thinking about Mulsanne corner, and let's see where he goes lined up into the second corner. Good exit. He needs a good exit. That's where he needs to be focused on. The BRS Canada has a bad exit, so he might have the chance into Mulsanne corner. He just needs to close down that gap and see if he's going to have the guts to go into it. He might not have to do it. He might have to do it on Indianapolis, though. It's going to be really close.
Going to be very close now coming down into the Mulsanne, and can he get the job done? Nope. He's going to sit in behind for another lap. Now Indianapolis, he's going to line himself up as the leader. He's actually on pit lane, so we'll get to that after this, because I think this could be the move for P number 2 in the GT class. Here comes Jonas Wallmeyer in the Pure Racing Team GTE Blue Ferrari. He's going to look to the outside down, coming now into Indianapolis. Going to come through this kink, now into Indy, still side by side. Can he hold on the outside? He can. Joni Takinen rolls out, lets him through, and that's a good position gain from Jonas Wallmeyer. Applied the pressure, got the job done into Indianapolis, takes away P number 2.
Yeah, just working on pace, working down a little bit of a pressure on Joni. Joni consciously knew that he cannot go toe-to-toe in Indianapolis. It's danger for both drivers. That would be race over for them. So consciously he backs out of the move, trying to defend, and lets the Pure Racing Team GTE Blue driver of Jonas Wallmeyer to pass. Now 71 is in second place in the GTE class.
Whether he can pull away now from that Anderson sport car, and as I say that, Joni Takinen very wide on entry into Porsche curves. He's lucky there's no grass there, because that could have been disaster for the championship leader, and he was pushing. You can't say he's not pushing, but that would have been a little bit of a heart in the mouth moment for the rest of the Anderson Sport team, seeing that car run out that wide, especially there with the marbles out there. That could have been a little bit of disaster, but he was able to hold on to it. And while we were looking at that battle, the change for P number 2, Pure Racing Team, the leading car of Patrick Wolf, came down onto pit road, did a service. Now he's back out on the racetrack, just coming through the S's before he comes through Tetra Rouge before going down the Mulsanne. So rejoined back into P number 2, and we're going to see what he can do. And I'd say Thrustmaster Bavana will be pitting roughly before halfway as well.
You still have 3 more laps into his stint, so roughly 2 more or 3 more laps into his stint. So it's just a matter of putting his car on the track and getting ready for a second stint. Might be on the tires though. If he hasn't changed it, he might change the next one. Remains to be seen. But nevertheless, Joni putting this car on track is basically what Mitchell has said is in a good run, good pace. They just need to focus what they need to do in order to get that second spot out of the Pure Racing Team GT Blue car.
Yeah, as that battle continues down there, and Anderson Sport slowly dropping away in that battle as well. Pure Racing Team now just running by themselves out the racetrack. Thrustmaster and Mavano, they're just entering, just trying to figure out where they are. They're just coming up to the Porsche curves now, and they're coming onto that straight. So we'll see what happens in terms of whether they're going to come down. I think they'll get another 2 more laps is usually the window for Thrustmaster and Mavano. They're actually coming up. I think that is the Team Chimera car. It is. Simon Trindle has done an amazing job to keep that car in 5th place. He's actually kept it on the lead lap as well. So a brilliant job there from Simon Trindle. even though he's been on and off, but he's been there. He's been trying to keep this car in 5th place, which he's done a good job at. And he's just been sort of fluctuating from going a lap down to not, so he's done a good job. Whether he's going to come down, I don't think he will either. But Thrustmaster Movano, he had a look, used a little bit more of that entrance road, and he's going to see him behind. But they're actually catching some 2 GTE cars. They're not in sequence and not on the same lap as actually looking in pit lane. That is actually one of them. The cars that we were looking at before, the Warkiva kinetic racing car is on pit lane there, Lorenzo. So that little battle that he was having with MSP Phoenix Racing may resume because Phoenix Racing obviously hasn't stopped yet. They're out there, but once they pit, they may actually resume their battle.
Yeah, they're going to resume their battle, most certainly. So it's just a matter of when you're going to resume that battle. It's going to be quite a fiery one because they've been at it back and forth. Some of the places on the field. It's going to be quite an interesting one to watch.
It's always a good battle out there. And having a look, actually, the 2 Sim RC DE cars are in a little bit of a battle here. The 76 and the 77. They've actually got the gym race. It's always the gym racing car. We should, like Hugo, we should have just kept the camera on the gym racing car the entire time, because he's got the battles around him. Even if he's not in it, he's still got the one around him as the 2 SimRC.de cars battle around as there is. Thank you, Hugo. We can now definitely see the gym racing team car right behind, and he's trying to work his way through. Obviously, these cars are on an alternate lap to that gym racing team Ford, but is he going to go down the inside? He had a look. I don't know why he'd be trying to apply the pressure to the, I think that is the Crimson car or the Iris car, one of them. They're both in the battle. I think Crimson's actually jumped Iris this lap around, so yeah, Crimson's moved himself up another position as down the inside. Looks like the Ford of Gym Racing team is going to get that one done, so that's going to let the 2 teammates battle, and whether they're going to battle, I don't think they will. I think they're just going to follow each other for the next couple of laps as we come close up to the 12-hour mark, Lorenzo, and then we're going to hand over to the not so fun people
double
who, that'll be waiting in the wings. I can see they're in here, so
they're already rubbing their hands, licking their lips.
They're getting ready. They're getting ready to turn it, and Hugo just will want to go to bed because it's late over where Hugo is. Hugo, like you said before, the last hour, struggling to keep his eyes open, but I'm sure he'll be fine after this one. And I'd say, I don't know whether you're coming back for director here. You are for the end, so you're going to have a good sleep and then come back and finish it off with the cameras for Hugo. But 7 minutes left before the halfway mark, and right now we're waiting on Thrustmaster Movano to make that pit stop window. Frederick Evers right now out in front, 1 minute 11 seconds back to Patrick Wolf. So I think Patrick may have taken tyres looking at that gap, so this may actually be Thrustmaster Movano coming out in front. Whether they take tyres or not will be interesting to see, but they're coming around. This will be actually the complete lap 13 of their stint. So I suspect this will be a pit stop for Thrustmaster Movano, unless they're going to try and stretch it to 14 around the outside, the MSP Racing Phoenix Ford GT through the Porsche curves. As Team Chimera is actually going to do the same, just going to flow it through. I'm just going to follow the leaders through, so Simon Trundle. And let's see Thrustmaster Movano in the pit lane. So now, here it is. This is going to be, let's see whether Pure Racing Team can keep that lead that they had of roughly 6 seconds, or does Thrustmaster Movano work some magic in this pit stop, Lorenzo, to put themselves back in front?
They need to at least have a pit stop of 28 to 30 seconds total and make it out in order to at least have a possibility to battle the Pure Racing Team, as they are at least more than a minute afar. As right now, Patrick Wolf is starting to do the pushers, and Frederick is heading down the pit lane to his pit stop.
Yeah, so Thrustmaster Frederick Evers in the box right now, waiting for what would be an eternity, knowing that that Pure Racing Team car is coming through these Porsche curves, knowing that if he can get out in front, that's just going to reignite this battle that was absolutely electric the last hour before that last hour mark was absolutely nuts that they were going side by side for multiple laps. But let's see, he's actually out. And that's a good gain. So definitely maybe a little bit of a different strategy for Pure Racing Team. And now it's all for Patrick Wolf to do. He's got a lot of work to do to try and close down this gap now back to Thrustmaster Movano. Not like he hasn't done it before, Lorenzo, but he's got to do it all over again.
Yeah, like press the reboot button and do it all over again. It's a hustle, but someone's got to do it. And job is up to Patrick for him to do it. And right now the gap is around 10 seconds. He was around that gap before, so it's a possibility that he could work on and close that gap once again. So it's doable, but it's a hustle.
Yeah, it's a big time, and 10 seconds was the difference in pit stops and total pit lane time. 10 seconds, oh, I should say 10 seconds, 15 seconds, sorry. So that 5 seconds obviously gone that he had as a race lead. Now 10 seconds behind the Thrustmaster Movano Racing HPD that is now out in front. Frederick Evers still at the wheel of the 33 with Patrick Wolf running in P2. And while we do that, with 4 minutes left before the halfway mark, we may as well get ready to end this one here today. And just for us anyway, Lorenzo, any final words from you before we sort of send them through the running order, and then we'll get the two Muppets that are going to start Chaos Corner into the booth. But any final words from you, Lorenzo? I think this has been a cracking race up to the halfway mark.
It's been a cracking race. I just have 3 remarks to do. Number 1, keep an eye on the Pure Racing Team. The number 33 and the number 7, they're going to be on it all night long. It's going to be a really interesting one to watch. It remains to be seen if the 55 Hellscaville, the motorsports strategy is going to pay off. In the end, they still have halfway to go. And number 3, pray to little Jesus because of the 2 Muppets that are coming out right now.
We love them both. Yeah, it's going to be crazy from here on out. I don't know even Randy's had any sleep, and if he has, who knows. But the 33 right now as we come up to the halfway mark in the Neo Endurance Series 24 Hours of Le Mans is leading right now, driven by Frederick Evers. Coming home in P number 2 at the halfway mark is the 7 Pure Racing Team of Patrick Wolf, trying to close down now a 10-second gap. And as I say that, he's already got it down to 9.4 seconds, so he is closing. Thrustmaster Movano number 34 in P3 with Radicals Online in 4th, and Team Chimera coming down the pit lane right now, rounding out the top 5 with Simitok, Virtual Motorsports, MSP Phoenix Racing number 38, and IRDK Endurance, and Tio Martin Esports rounding out the top 10. And as we go through the Heisenfeld, Core Motorsports is leading that Grand Touring class with Pure Racing Team GTE Blue taking over P2 from the VRS Commander SimSport number 81 car and pulling away from the championship leaders as the sister car of the Commander SimSport stable running in P4 with Thrustmaster Movano in P number 5. Gym Racing Team still holding on now to 6 with Pure Racing Team GTE Red in P number 7 with Torque Freak Racing rounding out the top 8. And while we do that, we're going to go to a short break here on Racesport TV and iRacing Live before we get the 2 commentators in of Randy Chinnett and Paul Smith, who will take over from myself and Lorenzo Bonda, as well as Hugo Luis, as he's going to take a break before he come back for the end of this one. So don't go anywhere, as we'll be right back.